rolling with Wally Pearson at base camp. Morning, Wally.
Morning, Todd.
9 a.m., 6 minutes early. We're ahead of the game.
That's a number.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
Awesome. I love autumn in the UP. Yeah.
That's what you live for, isn't it?
Yeah, I was reflecting with you prior to this podcast. My wife and I lived in L.A. for a year, and what I really missed was autumn. So, yeah, every time it comes around, I'm reminded of that 1985 lack of autumn.
1985 in L.A.
Yeah.
Why were you there?
I took a year off in education and wanted to collect my thoughts and make some money. It's worthy of talking about this. Worked for the California Handicap Man of the Year. Guy's paralyzed from his chin down. He got a virus that was like polio, but was not polio, and it was ascending. And he thought, I've got a finite period of life left. And he lived full on, living all the things that one would want to do with 12 months on your calendar. And then it stopped. And he realized I'm going to have to figure out a life. He was going to medical school. That wasn't going to work. So he became a liaison between primarily foreign auto, Toyota and Honda, and the U.S. auto. So he would run high-level meetings with Toyota and Honda, sitting in a wheelchair, just able to move his mouth in a sip and puff computer.
Really?
So talk about perspective. This guy got after it. His wife, that's more than we all need to know, and they both have passed since this, but his wife had mental illness, and she was far more handicapped than he was, and I would have to, whenever I hit the brakes in the car, I'd have to lean over and hold his forehead up because he couldn't stay upright.
But kidding.
This guy got after it with working with just about 3 muscles in his body.
Made the most of it.
Yeah, so that was my year in L.A., a whole bunch of perspective.
So did you say you were in education?
I was between undergrad and medical school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to school for?
Undergrad biology.
Yeah.
Did a year of exercise science before that was a thing. Was really interested down at U of M, and then got into medical school, deferred for a year just to get my head together, make some money, and didn't realize the maturity that I would, that's a grandiose word for a mid-20-year-old male, so some maturity. Just living the life of this guy. I mean, I would really have to put myself in the backseat. I would have to be this guy. For instance, we went to The Color Purple, and his wife, as I mentioned, was had a mental illness. And in the middle of the movie, she kind of became quite emotional, and he wanted to hug her. So I would have to stand behind this gentleman and take his hands and rub her back while she was in his lap in the wheelchair in the movie theater, and want to massage her hair. And I'd have to do this stuff, and I couldn't put judgment into it. He couldn't do it. He emotionally wanted to do it. So far be it from me to interject my thoughts. So what I found, though, is that I would do this for 2 or sometimes 3 consecutive days.
Yeah.
And for me to regain my Walliness, if you will, or become my own person, I would always jump on a cruiser bike, get on the Strand, which is basically a bike path along the ocean, and I would ride south of L.A. until I started to think my own thoughts, and then by the time I got back to the house, I was Wally again, it's a weird thing to say, but yeah, it was a metamorphosis that happened every time.
How old were you?
26.
So you're 26, and how did you get connected with this guy and his wife?
Weird story. So my wife and I actually know she's my girlfriend at that point. I drove out west, took 6 weeks camping out west, went through all the places on the way out west, had a great time, spending 25 cents for a bushel of apples, and that was the meal for the day. And, we left, literally, Marquette, no navigation. This is pre-GPS, no cell phones. I think I had less than $200 in my wallet. AM radio, no cruise control, no air conditioning, and we just simply camped our way out west. Ended up in L.A. with no money, so I had to get a job. We had to get a job. We couch surfed on a friend for a little while, and then I opened up the New York Times, and there's this full article about this gentleman who was a quadriplegic and needed somebody to live in his house and manage his 2 other employees. And it really, I went out to L.A. to get away from medicine because I knew I was going back to med school. And this really spoke out to me. I had done some healthcare in Ann Arbor when I was there for undergrad, and I really didn't want that. But it was almost written to me. And I called the guy up, and he said, well, I'm going to Warren Miller's ski movie tonight. And, this guy's connected. And so we got to see Warren Miller, who was there. And just all of the boxes were checked. And we resonated with him as well. My wife, Carrie, fit right into his little environment in the house. So we jumped in.
So did you guys live there?
We did. We lived upstairs. That's the other thing in LA. If you rented an apartment, like we could, we could not. I was out of the $200. I had no down payment. Apartments don't come with a refrigerator. I have to buy a refrigerator. All the mechanical things that we didn't know were a reality in LA in '85. So it was perfect. We moved right in. Yeah.
What drew you to medicine?
I guess a bit of family of origin. My dad was an OBGYN in Marquette, and actually for a while the only OBGYN in Marquette. So I saw him impacting people's lives, in the grocery store, wherever people would come up and share their birth stories or what the child was doing. I also saw the other side of that. I remember being in the Delph Theater as a kid watching, I think it was The Sound of Music. And whenever my dad, there were no pagers at that point. So when my dad would go to a church or a restaurant or a movie theater, he'd check at the front desk and say, I'm Dr. Pearson. If the hospital calls, they have your number. I'm row 3. So we got extracted from row 3 and went home. And, I saw him making sacrifices from a family standpoint to gain the professional situation.
So that example where you're at the Delph,
yeah,
and he's giving the number to the people, so in the row that he's in.
Yeah. What
year are we talking?
That must have been early 70s. Early 70s. I remember when he felt. So I'm reflecting out of my career, and my beeper would go off, and it was oftentimes 2 a.m. with a snowmobiler that found a tree.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite have the energy that he did. It became positive energy. But I remember when my dad finally got a beeper, he was elated because he no longer had to do what is the phone number to Delph, all that check-in. He could be, hot connected to the hospital. This beeper is about the size of, someone's femur down their leg, but he felt liberated and the shackles had come off. So I had a adverse relationship with my beeper occasionally, but I didn't have to think too hard about my father who felt liberated by that beeper.
Wow. 50 years, eh?
Yeah.
50-ish. How old are you?
I am 62.
Okay.
This week. Next week will be 63.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Yeah. Speaking of my father, he actually delivered me at K.I. Sawyer during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Really?
That's a full story. But the base went into lockdown because they had nukes, and Kennedy and his correspondent in Moscow were about ready to launch. So the base went into lockdown, my mom went into labor, and my dad delivered me.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Why was he at K.I. Sawyer at that time?
He was at a social function there, but he also had a 2-year military obligation, as everybody did back in the day. So he was serving that. That's what brought him to the UP. And then ultimately, he was leaving K.I. Sawyer to start a practice in Boston. Got stuck here in a snowstorm and never left. Thank God. I could have a Boston accent right now, or not even know about the OK or the 906.
So did you grow up here?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Grew up here and ended up back here.
Yeah. I left after high school, about 20 years of education and travel. I mean, not recreational travel, but education travel. And was all set to stay in upstate New York, where I trained, and then got pregnant with our now eldest daughter, and felt like the thing that I was most grateful for of all things. There are many things I was grateful for, but most grateful for being raised in this community, and I wanted to give that to my daughter. Ironically, of my 3 daughters, she's the one that lives in Marquette now.
Go back to that Cuban Missile Crisis for a minute.
Yeah.
In the lockdown. How long were they locked down on the base? Do you have any idea?
I don't. And both parents have recently passed, so these are the questions you got to ask when your parents are around. I asked some, but not that one. I guess history books could tell me that.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I just had another question for you, too. Oh, so as a person who was in the medical profession your entire career, right?
Right.
One thing that's always, because she's a nurse, you guys work together, that's Stacy, my wife. One thing that's always fascinated me about people who work in healthcare is how well you operate within an environment that is literally life and death every single day.
Well, yeah, I get that grandiose statement, but everybody impacts their community in some manner. Mine happened to be sometimes a scalpel, and there was a pulse in the background in the operating room, but that that seems like grandstanding, but everybody makes an impact on others, whether it's a nice gesture in the grocery store or, there's many ways to be impactful. Mine happen to be in healthcare. I don't want to make that any sort of hierarchical grand thing.
Yeah.
I think everybody impacts everybody. And, if I can get somebody's femur to heal, great. If you can get somebody feeling better about who they are in the community and with 906, getting people on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Heck, that's life-changing right there as well.
It is. I want to dig into that a little bit, though, with my question, because it's not the thing that fascinates me is you are, now maybe not you when you're in the orthopedic office, you're dealing with joints, broken bones, etc. Here's the example. When I met Stacy, she was working in a NICU downstate, Beaumont Hospital. Okay. And she loved it. Like that was her passion. She had swore she would never move back to the UP.
Huh.
Then she met me.
Yeah.
I think that's where the blame Todd started. But what really struck me and has continued to land on me with equal impact, because we've got a lot of people in healthcare within the 906 community, within the Marquette County community. It is how well Stacy handled the daily battle between life and death with babies.
Yeah. That's
and what I mean by that is I know a lot of people that would not be able to operate in that environment where every day you're losing a baby.
right. And it's not just one life, obviously. It's a new baby to a family.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that is next level in terms of emotion and impact. And then to get a little more granular, when you're dealing with a baby, you're dealing with something where the doses, everything is so much more scientific.
Yeah.
You can't just take one, pill of Tylenol or an antibiotic. It's got to be measured out. It's got to be thought about. You got to think about the metabolism of the child. Yeah, that's next level in my assessment.
And the thing that blew me away is one of her trips up here while we were dating, she had a diaper for a NICU baby. And I'm talking, this diaper is like this big. And she set it in my hand, and the diaper literally fit in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, this goes on a little human.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
Extrapolate that to a heart, to a lung. I mean, it's it's such a sensitive little thing.
Do they, when you're going through college and training, how do they address that? The psychology, is it taught? Is it trained? Is it partially you're just naturally wired to work in that environment?
Yeah. The short answer to that is you're exposed to pretty much everything. And NICU is its own entity. That is super intense. It takes a very unique person. You either are all in or that's not your jam.
Yeah.
And there are not many. Stacy's a unique person. And the people that are in the NICU, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you got to walk out the door and come back supercharged, ready to deal with that again. And I'm sure there are sleepless nights. For me, there would be.
Oh.
There have to be, or you're not. You can't be mechanical in there. You got to have a heart and soul to do that.
Yeah.
Which is liability for that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just blows me away.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, I didn't know that about Stacy's background. I had the privilege of working with her in joint replacement, and I thank you for bringing her back up here because she was super impactful in a group that we worked with together. You and I are here out of collaboration.
Right.
What Stacy and I did in medicine was really a rare example, unfortunately. I mean, this is going to have analogies to what we're here for today, how we're better together. In orthopedics, it's a pretty competitive group. It's hard to get into. It's typical of the jock mentality where you're in competition. And, in orthopedics, we being the orthopods, didn't really collaborate information. And, through meta-analysis, putting studies together, the power is in numbers. And we all had our little micro numbers in our practices, but weren't sharing that.
Right.
And someone I know who the person is, out of Michigan, University of Michigan, thought, we got to do a joint collaborative. All the high-volume joint surgeons have to get together and share their numbers. What a novel idea. And very quickly, we made an impactful change initially in Michigan, ultimately in the nation. And I would it's fair to say that internationally, in terms of how you anticoagulate something. This is going to get too technical, but you got to thin people's blood after surgery so they don't get a blood clot. We all had a million different ways to do that. We got together in Michigan and said, let's share our numbers. We were being dictated to by the thoracic surgeons on how we had to thin blood, and that people that operate in the chest is different than people that do hip replacements. We were bold. What we did was bold in that it was less aggressive thinning of the blood. But this only came together because we all got together and said, let's share our numbers, and that we changed it in Michigan, and that changed it in the nation and international practice. And that came out of collaboration. So Stacy was the leader of that out of our Marquette group, which is essentially the only one in the UP. And so she was still making a difference, even though she was above the bridge.
So when you guys were getting together and sharing data or information, were you looking at surgical outcomes and processes, or what was being looked at? What were you trying to improve?
Depends on the topic. We'll go back to the blood thinning.
Yeah.
We were told by the thoracic surgeons that we had to use a substance that really thins the blood out. Well, we were having problems with blood into the joint, and that increased infection, and couldn't get people up and moving because their blood was too thin. And we made the bold choice to get people moving early and just simply use an aspirin. And the thoracic surgeons thought we were crazy and that our blood clot numbers were going to go way up. And in fact, the opposite happened. So
interesting.
Safer for the joint, safer for the human, but it took the collaborative initiative of all of the surgeons in this group to do that.
Why do you think that the thoracic surgeons couldn't see that or didn't believe it, but you guys could?
Well, their Venn bubble is different than ours. Their patients are sick and are on their backs in the ICU. Ours are healthy people that just had a joint replaced. They want to get up and get moving. And between the two of them, thinning their blood a little bit and getting them moving, decrease the blood clot rate. So
what did the thoracic surgeons think would happen?
They thought we were going to get blood clots and people were going to die.
Okay. How do you, if you've got this thin line between, okay, we're going to try something new, people might die. How do you ease into trying this new approach?
Well, we had the data to show that those that were doing just that were doing okay. So we, to make the numbers more robust, we combined them together, and everybody did it, and it turned out better.
What the group when you and Stacy were working together? What was that group called? Was there a name?
The acronym is Marquee.
Okay, it was Marquee.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember hearing about that all the time.
Well, it was the most exciting thing I did in my professional career, truly, because it was so impactful. It was not just, Wally Pearson in the clinic doing a decent job and seeing people at the grocery store who are moving better. This is changing how we treat patients, and through the robust numbers of every high-volume joint surgeon in Michigan. So nobody really knew they were going to get medical education today.
I think it's great. That's what is great actually about the podcast is you never know what's going to come up,
right?
Because there's such a varied community of people that come in here. It's fantastic. Were you a employee of the hospital, private practice?
So private practice is the answer. So the orthopods, we had about 70 employees in our office, and we now currently are one of the few that is not owned by the hospital.
Which office?
The orthopedic. It's called Advanced Center for Orthopedics.
Okay, so you were with Advanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where Stacy is now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that practice has been in the UP for over 45 years, independent. We operate part-time in the hospital, so we use their operating room. Benefits them, benefits us. They now have a surgery center as well, so they can do the outpatient surgery at the medical center, which is not part of the hospital.
Right, so Advance has a surgical center there at the
medical center,
or they could use the hospital.
Correct.
Right. What's the incentive between one or the other?
Well,
one of them they own, right?
Right, and you don't want finances to come into this. It's really about the experience. I remember the hospital came to me back when they were building this hospital, and I said, you need an outpatient surgery center because the people having joint replacements don't view themselves as sick. They don't want to line up behind somebody in the admissions area with a big bag of medicine. Yeah. They want to come into a hotel, leave with a new joint, and feel better. Hospital missed that ball. They rolled out the plans for me as chairman of surgery, which is why I was seeing the plans, and there was no surgery center. And it's so, there is some financial incentive for the surgery center, but really it's about giving a couple things. Giving the patient the experience that they're looking for.
Right.
They don't want to park in a big, huge parking structure and navigate the hospital system. They want to get in and get out. They also don't want to be in an environment that has, they don't want to wake up in the recovery room next to a throwing up patient from general surgery or, a screaming baby. They want their own little peaceful environment. So it's sequestering themselves from the bad bugs in the hospital, from the sick patient in the hospital, just giving them the operative experience through something that feels like a hotel and getting out the same day.
Yeah. I actually had my AC joint repaired by Dr. Doppelt.
Rock star.
Yeah, over at the surgery center there. And shout out to him because they did a great job on it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Same with my shoulder.
It was a good experience. So, it's odd timing that you came in today because I told you that Stacy and I were in New York.
Yeah.
I spoke at St. Joseph's Hospital in Syracuse.
Oh, really?
And then attended a retreat with, I'll say, administration Friday morning. While I was out there, I was with Kristen and Toby. They were kind of hosting us. Kristen was the one that had asked me to come out to speak. And she's embedded in healthcare. She's, I think her role is Vice President of Population Health. So I was immersed in healthcare.
Yeah.
The whole time we were gone. And it's really interesting to me. So New York, apparently, all hospitals are nonprofit.
Right.
I didn't know that. And I had mentioned...
Well, hold it. That might have changed because I was in upstate New York as well for training, but go ahead.
I had mentioned to Kristen, and maybe I misinterpreted what she told me, but my thought coming away from New York was that the state's very involved in the healthcare and that at least most of the hospitals are a nonprofit. But I mentioned how Market General had been nonprofit. And then, as far as I know, when they were taken over, it switched to for-profit.
Right.
So we had a lot of conversations about hospitals and for-profit and nonprofit. But what I came away with was, whether you're on the for-profit side or the nonprofit side, everybody's struggling.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not an easy, it's just not an easy place to be working for anybody.
It seems like, our healthcare system it's a good healthcare system, but it's way too expensive. And it's so hard to navigate. I mean, even when I have a simple, not procedure, but when I navigate the medical system, I have knowledge about not only the procedures and billing, and I struggle in a simple, straightforward hospital bill.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard.
Right. I had asked the question while I was out there of a couple of people, because my idea of healthcare is that we want to either make people healthy or keep them healthy. That's what my idea of healthcare is. In the same way that my idea on education is that, like, education K through 12 should ideally be preparing kids for the world to go into higher ed to specialize in whatever area they're going to work, right? And affect community and take part in the world. But when I asked the question, what is more important than population health? The one answer I got that was interesting to me was the hospital. Because the view was the hospital has to be there to care for people.
Well, for me, that's too late, right? You haven't done the first part first.
Right.
Correctly.
Right.
Right. We shouldn't have to need hospitals.
Correct.
As much
Ideally.
Ideally. Right.
Ideally. Yeah, it's wild to me because, I am a outsider in a lot of these conversations. I'm clearly not a doctor. It's probably best for everybody that I'm not.
I don't know about that.
But the thing that I find interesting because I love talking to people to figure out, like, where's the pain points, what's the root cause of the struggle. And the struggle seems to be that, in theory, healthcare should be, ideally, to produce a healthy society. But all of the different components of that system, well, they all need to make money. And it seems like the way they make money or their incentives to make money, nothing is in alignment.
Right. There was an initiative a while back for preventative health, right? So getting out and riding your bike daily, doing all the things that will theoretically decrease high blood pressure, diabetes, all the things we know are downstream from bad health.
Right.
It turns out there's no money in preventative health, right? And everything's driven by the dollar.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I will not name the organization, but this was actually a turning point for me about, I'm going to say 7 years ago. We were writing a very large robust grant application for $25,000, which $25,000 is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of if you're trying to create a nationwide youth program, $25,000 is not a ton of money, but the grant process is very, very, very drawn out, very long. And we submitted the grant, and it got rejected. And at the end, when I talked to the grant reviewer, she told me, your program is preventative, and therefore we would never be able to prove that those kids' lives were improved because of you. There'd be no way for, basically she's saying what you're doing, we can't prove that it works or not.
Wow.
Yeah. She said, now if you were working with sick kids or at-risk kids, we'd give you the money. But it was a box they wanted to check.
Yeah, right. Right.
So you're right on the preventative thing. Like I've been saying this for years, that there seems to be this mindset that there's no money in preventative.
Right. Well, yeah, hopefully now with meta-analysis and throwing data together, we can see that. We do know that.
I mean, wouldn't you think that if the intention was, I mean, the problem is you've got a system right now that is built upon sick people. Mm-hmm. How you dismantle that, I have no idea. But it would seem to me that you could just create a different model, and the jobs and the revenue, you're still going to be able to create it, but you're going to create it in different ways, doing different things.
Preventative medicine.
Preventative medicine. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there are foundations out there, like comes to mind Kellogg Foundation and others that do appreciate the value of preventative activity. Yeah.
So how long were you an orthopedic surgeon? How many years?
Just about 30, 26.
That's a long time.
Yeah. You spend a long time getting there.
Yep.
And, you need to grab that?
No, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, the weird thing about orthopedics is you're either on the treadmill going full blast or you're off the treadmill. You can't really do part-time orthopedics, which is unfortunate, because then when there's a lot of knowledge, or I should say experience, not knowledge, that is no longer pulling the wagon. And I'd love to be able to contribute in some aspect of healthcare, but the overhead is so great that you have to be working hard to pull the wagon to pay the overhead. Towards the thinking about retirement, had contacted Northern Michigan University about starting up a cadaveric lab.
What is that?
So, you can learn anatomy various ways, through a textbook, through 3D imaging, through the computer, but all of that is two-dimensional. And really the most impactful way to learn anatomy is to dissect a cadaver. So it's, and it's an expensive process, but it's very impactful. And Northern has many different entry points that could gain knowledge by access to a cadaver. And they had one back in the day. And it's not a criticism of Northern. I attended the University of Michigan, and for undergrad, you couldn't have that experience. So I actually drove my car to Eastern Michigan. I was enrolled at Michigan full-time, but I took one anatomy class at Eastern because they had a cadaveric lab.
Okay.
And it's, that's maybe one reason I went into orthopedics, because I just love human anatomy.
And that was going to be a question, is how you ended up in orthopedics.
That's a decent question. I'll get to it, but really orthopedics is applied anatomy. It's the body in motion, and better way to see how the body works. One, aside from doing sports, and also seeing the body cadaver and the muscles and where they attach, and if this muscle contracts, what joint is going to move and what's around that joint. So anatomy is really critical, and learning anatomy is best done through dissecting a cadaver. As morbid as, that's truly morbid, but it's very impactful. And you cannot do it as well looking at a computer image or touching the screen and having a layer go away and seeing the next layer. It's truly a three-dimensional experience. So we were going down that road pretty far with Northern. Carrie Schuling was the provost at that point, and she is an action woman. She saw the benefit of this, and immediately she's someone that can motivate people to make things happen, and gets it done without a wake of destruction behind her. She just gets everybody motivated and on the same mission. We were marching along, had some finances allocated, even resources, finite space over at Northern. on our way to Western Michigan to see their program, and then COVID hit. And Northern pushed away from the table and just tried to figure out how to navigate this undefined situation. So we've not gotten back to that table. That's something, you're asking about my retirement. That's something I would like to reinitiate at some point.
When did you retire?
Let's see, 5 years ago? Going on 5 years.
So right around COVID time?
Yeah, right before COVID.
Right before it?
Which, if you're in healthcare, you want to be involved when stuff goes down. I was remorseful that I couldn't directly help. Well, I did directly help. I'd met my license had lapsed, but the state of Michigan realized we need all hands on deck. So they let old guys like me come back to the table and do something without an active Michigan license. And so I was involved in not only education, but some vaccine injection clinics.
Okay.
And that was not Northern. Marquette Hospital really was that, and the Marquette County Medical Care Facility were both really proactive in getting that going. Yeah.
How'd you end up in orthopedics? What's the story there?
Early on, some sports injuries in high school.
Your personal injuries?
Yeah, personally, yeah. Then I was in a car accident and broke my femur and opposite ankle. So I spent 6 weeks in the hospital there. And then, I had the family of origin experience I told you about with my father, seeing the gratification people demonstrated to him that I thought was really pretty powerful. But I knew I wanted to go into healthcare, but didn't necessarily want to do the rigors of medical school and residency. So I jumped in. That's why I did exercise science, thinking I wanted to work with athletes. Then realized that I would be not able to fully do in medicine or in healthcare what I wanted to do without a medical degree. So thinking I was going into orthopedics, went into medical school, tried to keep my eyes open because there's a lot of cool things to do in medicine, but ended up in sports medicine and orthopedics.
Did you have to go through residency or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard.
It's pretty tough, huh?
Yeah, it has changed, fortunately, for society and the residents, but, 123 hours a week for 5 years. So it's, to quantitate that you start at about 5-ish in the morning, go that whole day, that whole night. The next whole day, go home at 10:30 at night, get your 4 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep to do that again for another 40 hours. So, yeah, I was a bit of a zombie for 5 years, fortunately.
Why was residency that way? Was it intentional?
Well, yeah, in orthopedics, I know that just because that's I live that.
Yeah.
They felt that it was important to see disease processes from start to finish. So I'd see a car accident roll in and be involved with it through the first 40 hours of its care. And just volume alone, if you're working for 40 hours and off for 6 or so, and then working for another 40, you're seeing a lot of stuff go down. Granted, you're very fatigued. However, there's enough checks and balances and redundancy that in a sleep-deprived situation, there was always someone around me. So that was the dogma back then, that it was experience for the resident. There's also the issue of relatively free labor for the hospitals. So they were charged, they can charge for a surgeon operating, even though he or she is still a resident. It has changed for a lot of reasons. But I will say that the general feeling is residents coming out have had less experience and also have have a different work ethic. That's not all of them. But, to stay up every other night for quite a few years in a row. I remember the first couple times thinking you're up past midnight till the next morning that like the world's going to end. Well, it turns out your heart keeps beating and you can still think and function.
You can do it.
Yeah. And there are times when I came back to Marquette, I would be on call all weekend, and there are times where you were up for a day and a half or 2 days, and you have to do it. At that point, though, there's no one behind me. It was me, and I had partners around, possibly if it got too bad that I could call, but it's a mindset, it's knowing you can do it, it's the experience of working that hard that long. It makes you realize you can do a lot of things, right?
Is there any sort of regulation around how many consecutive hours you could be on the clock treating people, in surgery?
Yeah, it cracks me up because, there are many times throughout my travels recently where you are you and your whole airline are delayed because the pilot didn't sleep 16 hours the night before. Yeah,
Right.
I could operate on somebody for the 72 consecutive hours with a scalpel in my hand.
Right. So your answer is no.
Well, so I did my training in upstate New York.
Yep.
The year before I matched out in New York, the Bell Commission started, which is a sleep-deprived resident in an ER made a bad decision that resulted in someone's it was a fatal decision. So the Bell Commission started. They were going to quantitate residents' hours. So we had to carry this little book around and quantitate our hours. That's how I know it was 123 hours a week. So, the family practice, all the people were getting the hours below. The number, I think, was 100 or 90, some unattainable restriction for surgeons. So the commission came around, would check our book. We were way over the top. So they would throw in the resident that was on vacation that week, put him in the denominator to try and bring that, or numerator, to bring that number down. That didn't do it. And then we had to, if we ever went to the bathroom or got something to eat, we had to check that off. That didn't do it. So they finally just said surgeons are exempt. And then the doors went wide open.
Seriously.
So, I would be doing a rotation in the ER, and I would go in with, say, a family practice or OBGYN. They would leave, go home, and come back the next day, and I'd still be working, and I'd work through their second shift again. So I've done 3 shifts, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just how it was.
Yeah,
but
it's just how it was.
Yeah, that has changed. But so translate. Let's get back to outdoor athletics. Years ago, with a couple of general surgeon, somebody else in medicine, and then some other local really good athletes, we did a 24-hour ski race up at the Telemark. It was 17 below zero. It was harsh conditions. They made it a 3K course because it was so cold and they wanted to keep an eye on people. And it was really raw. I mean, it was wide open cardiovascular activity. We were doing well. This team, we were in about 3rd place out of many teams. And one of our best skiers, who happened to be in finance, not in medicine, about 1 o'clock in the morning, just totally decompensated. I mean, he and this guy's a fantastic athlete, but it's after midnight. It's time to go to bed in his mind. I think he feels differently now.
What did you say he did?
He's in finance.
Yeah, but
so
you
my
said
point
decompensated.
Well, I mean, it was not right to be up past midnight, let alone do.
So he's going to bed.
Well, going to bed. Yeah, it was actually. It's a long story, but we poured a Red Bull down his throat. I kid you not. It could have been a great Red Bull commercial, because this guy went from lethargic to let's ski.
Let's get it.
At the end of that story is he went out the door, got in the car that was at the stage area, and fell asleep in the starting line. And the skier that came in on the relay was looking for him. He came into the house, and we lost it. And then this skier produced the slowest lap of all 24 hours. To his credit, he also had the fastest lap when the sun was out.
Oh, he was rested.
My point of that is, when you do hard things, residency or whatever it is, you realize you can do it, and you can set the bar higher.
Yeah, it's listening to you describe that for surgeons and the workload and the hours. You made the reference with the airline pilot.
Yeah.
Well, I was a truck driver, and we had logbooks.
Yeah.
Right. Highly regulated. When how many consecutive hours you can drive the vehicle, you have to pull over, you have to have X number of hours off. And I mean, we're just driving a truck.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because, obviously if you're not a good truck driver, they can wreak havoc and destruction, of course.
Right.
But it's not operating on people.
Well, I get it.
That's wild.
Yeah, I guess if the surgeon, I'm not advocating any of this.
Yeah,
but the one is done in isolation. The truck driving is pretty public.
It is, and the public does some wild stuff around truck. There was one night. So I one stint in my truck driving career, I was a transport driver. So I'm hauling fuel.
Oh,
gas, high sulfur diesel, jet fuel, like everything.
Does that come with a different regulation?
Hazmat training.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm driving from Green Bay, from the terminals up to actually Escanaba to deliver fuel. And as I'm going through Menominee, I don't know what time it was, 1 a.m. For some reason, there's a carload of kids in front of me. They had passed me, they got up in front of me, and they rolled down their window, and they started flicking cigarette butts out the window. Seriously. And they have me and the tanker behind them. They're just doing it to be idiots.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hopefully this doesn't go poorly.
Yeah.
But that's just the stuff that the public does. It's just crazy.
When I see that happen in general, that bothers me. But I'm not driving a bomb.
The first time that I was in training when I drove a tanker. It was an unbaffled tank, which was a new experience. And I was training in the winter. Well, baffles are in the tanks to stop the flow of liquid.
Right.
Because when you touch your brakes, the liquid wants to
Go forward.
keep going.
Right.
Right? Well, the guy training me hadn't mentioned this. I didn't know it was unbaffled. So as I was approaching the stop sign, this is somewhere downtown Green Bay, I hit the brakes. The truck keeps going.
And you said it was wintertime?
It was wintertime.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Just some stories doing that stuff, man. Crazy.
What about wildlife or deer?
You know,
That Menominee stretch.
yep. And back in the day, Highway 69, going from, what would that be? It's over by, it's outside, between like Bark River going up to Segola.
Yeah.
That was a crazy place to see deer.
Deer country.
Yeah, just deer country cross. I mean, you'd go in the spring when the snow starts to recede from the shoulders. The number of carcasses on 69 was crazy. It was mind blowing. One of the things they taught you, though, at least one of the guys that taught me, I started driving when I was 21, and one of his things was, you see a deer, don't hit the brakes, don't swerve, straight line.
It's hard to fight the brainstem, though.
It is, because your initial reaction
Right.
is to try to avoid it, but that is where with tractor trailer, that's where you're going to create an accident.
I preach that to my kids. Never touch the brakes. Just 99% of the time, they really get out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm driving 5 p.m. through Munising, pulling a trailer. A deer pulls out. I swerve. The deer just missed the deer, but it started an oscillation of the trailer that I was pulling, and the car just about went up. We just about flipped. So yeah, it's hard to fight that instinct to swerve or not hit the brakes.
It is, but it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
There was one other little truck driving story. So I was driving nights. Ironically, had a shoulder injury. Mid-20s. This is after I'd been driving a few years. So we would drive from Escanaba down to Petoskey. We'd bring empty trailers to Petoskey. We'd come back with full trailers.
US 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. On US 2, you go up Alanson, Pellston, come up through US 2. When we brought the full trailers out, then the delivery drivers, day drivers would go out during the day. They deliver everything. That's normally what I did, but I couldn't because of my shoulder. So I'm on nights. One night we're going along on the lake, winter again, and we got into some really bad weather, like really bad. We're pulling a set of doubles with an articulator between two 28-foot pups.
Wow.
So I don't remember exactly what happened, but I will never forget. I ended up in a situation where when I looked in my mirror, I could read Cisco, meaning the trailer was sideways.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, Al, he was the most seasoned nighttime driver out of the group. He did it, I think, his whole career. And I'll never forget, he had told me, he's like, if you ever can read Cisco in your mirror, you're in deep shit. Somehow it straightened out and everything was okay.
Wow.
But you know how that stretch gets in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Snow, ice, wind. I mean, the lake's right there.
So when does that affect? Does it affect the pull of the rail, pulling sideways?
Absolutely.
So
for sure.
With weight, I've also wondered this on the snowy road. With the weight, do you have more traction pulling a semi?
Yes. You don't want to be empty.
Yeah, but your braking distance is distant, pretty good unbaffled.
Yeah, you need more room. You need more runway when you're loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's remarkably that you keep mentioning nights too. Did you prefer nights because of traffic?
Oh, no. My preference was to work days and to deliver food. So you'd get the truck in the morning, you'd have 1,000 cases on it.
Right.
And you got to have that thing empty by 5. I loved that. I hated driving at night.
So that's some pressure, though. I mean, if the weather's going sideways and you got to be empty by 5, are you able to use judgment?
No, that stuff's got to get delivered.
Huh.
The first route I ever went out on solo as a solo delivery driver, 21 years old,
Oh.
So I don't know if you know this or not. My dad worked for Cisco. He was the general manager of the office up here in the UP. Okay. He built a business for Cisco up here with his team from $0 of annual revenue. I want to say to about 28 million by the time he retired.
Wow.
I ended up going to work for him. It was not easy growing up with Dean Paquette.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my first, my inaugural trip as a delivery driver, he sent me to Houghton into the Keweenaw on an overnight in the middle of winter.
Oh my God.
Normally, if you're a new guy, you're doing local routes in Escanaba.
Right.
Because you're easy to save if you have problems.
Nice flatland.
Yep. I get sent to the Keweenaw, first time alone, overnight. I get to Houghton because I had to drive through a snowstorm
In the winter.
to get there. Everything in Houghton was closed.
Wow.
So I've got a trailer full of food that's supposed to be delivered in 2 days, and now I'm going to have a day to do it.
Man. What's the best professional lesson you learned from your dad?
Okay. So we were bonused as a delivery driver off of speed and efficiency, cases per man hour. So I come in, I'm full of piss and vinegar, early 20s. Like I want to go for it. I want to crush the cases per man hour.
Yeah.
And you're ranked. You see where you're ranked every month.
Oh, that seems dangerous.
So, the faster you are, the more money you're going to make. So I performed well. And I would always look at the rankings with all the drivers and I'd be like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, why aren't they faster? What's the deal? I had that conversation with my dad one day. I'm proud of the speed and efficiency. And I'm like, why don't these other guys do it? The conversation we had was, he said, to run a successful business, it takes a lot of different types of people with a lot of different skills. He said, you can take a truck and you can go out and you can crush it and you can come back and there probably aren't many drivers that are as fast as you. But he said, how many relationships are you building? Right?
So these people are stopping on the way, glad handing, or?
Well, so Mike Richards, I'll use it as an example because he was normally down toward the bottom of the cases per man hour list.
Right.
But he took all sorts. He didn't give a shit about the cases per man hour bonus.
Right.
He wanted to take care of the customer. Right? He had the relationships. It's not that I didn't have a relationship with the customers, but I'm not fooling around having coffee, shooting the shit.
Right.
I'm in the door, delivering it efficiently. Here's your order. Have a great day.
Right.
See you next week.
Which has value also.
Yeah, and that was the most important message, is just like that takeaway from my dad was there's all sorts of people in the world that have a lot of different skills and attributes, and they're all important.
In the human condition, the human connection is very important.
Absolutely.
In anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one in a particular scenario, one skill set might be more effective than the other, but there's different scenarios that you incorporate throughout life,
right,
where all of these different skill sets will be the skill set that you need in that moment.
And the successful person is the one that can read the room and know if Frank wants just his delivery and get out of my face, and the other person wants to have a cup of coffee and talk about what happened last night.
Yeah.
Both those are important.
And that's a great point, actually, reading the room, because there were some customers that they don't want to talk to you. Right? They want you to bring their shit in and get out because they have a business to run. But then there were other customers that they would look forward to seeing you.
Right.
And you might be if the dude's running a business and he's the owner and the only employee, he's not seeing a lot of people besides the customers.
Right.
So he might look forward to seeing the delivery driver.
Yeah, and both those people are more likely to continue your relationship if you check their box.
Yeah. Another good lesson from the restaurant business or from food service in general was my dad would tell his salespeople, make sure when you go into that restaurant, as you walk through the back door, that you interact with everybody. Everybody, including the dishwasher, because salespeople, there's some ego going on there. You know, big shooters, like they like to think pretty highly of themselves. That's why they're also successful. It would not be unlike some salespeople to walk in the back door and just look for like the owner and ignore everybody.
Yeah.
But what my dad said was, in the restaurant business, it's one of those businesses that literally the guy that's washing the dishes this week, he might be running the show next week.
Yeah. Bring it back to healthcare. I mean, everybody that's around the table in the OR is important. There's no hierarchy, and they all have a perspective.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're all better together.
Yep.
And there is no hierarchy in a restaurant, in the OR, in the community.
Yep.
We all got to function together, and we function better together.
Everybody plays a part. I mean, you got to have somebody washing the dishes, right?
Right.
And they got to do a good job.
Yeah, right.
Because that plate that's being washed by the hourly dude in the back that might get no respect, it's going out to the paying customer.
Right.
With the food on it.
Doesn't matter what's on it if there's a big stain on it.
It does not. It does not. Do you ever work in food service? Do you ever work in a restaurant? That's a common one. Did you ever work in a restaurant?
Yeah, it wasn't quite a restaurant. Back, I used to work at the cookie cutter on 3rd Street. So we had ice cream and cookies. Yeah, way back in the day.
Like, was that in the Village?
It was in the Village. Right next to Don Curto's something pot, crock pot or something like that. He had a restaurant there.
Did Don also have the Italian place?
Yeah, that was after that.
New York Deli or something?
New York Deli, that was down where on Front Street across from the Union National Bank, which is now whatever it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Don Curto was an interesting guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I only knew him. You know, he was an owner-operator. I was a delivery driver.
Yeah.
That was our relationship.
Yeah. Everybody's got a story, and he's got a tough original family story. Don's subsequently passed, but he lived...
So he owned the cookie cutter?
Nope.
Or no?
Dick Ludi did. No, not my stepfather.
Dick Ludi.
Yeah.
Is that the Ludi somehow connected to the flower shop?
Well, his father on 3rd Street had the flower shop on 3rd Street. Initially, it was an Ishpeming.
Getting a history lesson
here. Yeah. And now it's Heritage Motors out in Harvey.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, he and his son, Phil.
No kidding. Stacy gets her car work done there.
Yeah, so does Wally.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a great shop there.
How old are the guys running the place?
The guys running Heritage?
Yeah.
So Dick Ludi, who's my stepfather, full disclosure, is going to be 90 this February.
Okay.
And that sounds old, but this guy is still getting after Sugarloaf every other day.
Yeah.
Not just going up and down it. He does it in under 28 minutes. So this guy, 90 is...
He's timing it?
He is. Yeah, this guy.
I love it.
Yeah, so he runs the place. His son, Phil, is 61. And, you know, if he's following his father's footsteps, there's a lot of steps left in his life. Yeah.
Though that's the guys that Stacy was talking about, because she was describing them to me, and she's like, they're just so cute.
Yeah, agreed. Even though it's family, yeah, it's a good energy. I mean, you walk into any place, Heritage or wherever, the donut shop, and you can feel the energy in the room, and it impacts everything. It impacts how the rest of your day goes, if you're going to do business there.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it because they want you to bring, they want you to bring your car back there.
Yeah.
They're doing it because that's who they are. It's genuine.
Yeah.
You can't fake that, particularly at the age of 90.
Yeah, at 90, you'd think that if he's faking, he's past faking, right?
Yeah. Well, it's no longer an act. No, it's just routine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So same question back to you. You were kind of, I'll say inspired. You didn't use that word, but you were kind of saw your dad in healthcare. Mm-hmm. You went into that profession. And a takeaway that something you learned from him.
Well, actually, I mentioned the respect and the privilege that he had immersing himself into the start of new life. Right, so that was, I truly view that as a privilege to be that organic into someone's creation. Right, and I thought about OB for that reason. Didn't choose that for various other reasons, but related to a lesson from him, I already mentioned the community of respect, but I learned a parent lesson from him once. I was a bit of a hellion as a teenager and didn't really have much of a curfew, and I came in pretty darn late one night. And as I said, he was an obstetrician and had left for a delivery at 1 in the morning, and it was 3 in the morning when he came back, and I wasn't home yet. And I came home after 3, and the door was locked. And that was something we just didn't do in our family. We didn't lock the door. So I immediately was upset at him, not mature enough to realize that I was the wrong one in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the note said, ring the doorbell when you want to get in. And I was just lit up with anger, what I was going to say to him, how that was, disrespectful or whatever a teenage mind would think at 4 in the morning. And he opened the door in his bathrobe, and he said, I went for a delivery and came back. You weren't home yet. I was worried about you. And then walked away. Not you're grounded, go to your room, blah, blah, blah. Didn't have a cell phone to take away, but no repercussions, just the disappointment.
Yeah.
And that was really a lesson to me that appealing to the human rather than being punitive was a really powerful lesson for me. I felt so small in that situation. It was a good learning opportunity.
That's a solid lesson.
Yeah, solid lesson.
Yeah. So, Wally, what were you doing out till 4 in the morning?
Yeah, all those questions could have come at me. None of it. I disappointed him, and that was such a strong motivator for me to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not have picked you as a Hellraiser.
Well, did I mention the car accident at 8:60?
Yeah. So what you were driving?
No, I was a passenger. I was actually 15, 16 on the day they operated on most of my body.
Oof.
Yeah.
So how bad was the accident? I mean, it sounds like it was pretty significant based on the injuries.
It was pretty bad. I was in traction for 2 weeks before they could operate on my femur, and then operate on that, my ankle, and hospital for 6 weeks, out for a week, and then had a problem and came back for another couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, that gives you a lot of time to reflect. Not that I had any great maturation and maturity, but some. Certainly appreciated my health. You don't appreciate your health until you don't have it for a while.
Yeah.
And then the awareness of being able to help people in that situation, even though I'd done a relatively stupid thing. There was no judgment. People just wanted to get me better. So
the traction, when you're in traction,
yeah.
What is the purpose of traction?
So back in that day, the purpose of the traction is so when a bone, the femur, which is your thigh bone, biggest bone in the body, is broken, the muscles do what it wants to do, which is contract and shorten. So suddenly that femur is overlapped and not in alignment with itself. It's overlapped by several centimeters. So the traction is a pin that goes through your tibia below your knee, put weight on it, pull you out to length. So to get the muscles to relax, to get the bone out to length, and probably give me time physiologically to get to a better place for surgery.
How painful is that process? If you can recall,
well,
when you're in traction in general.
For a nearly 16-year-old male, it's more mentally than physically painful.
Yeah.
And, there were some complications I had. I had a blood vessel let loose in my leg that stretched my leg to the point where the skin ripped and bled open.
Really?
Yeah, and that was pretty painful. Painful, get back to the emotional aspect, letting your parents down.
Yeah.
Letting people around you down.
Yeah.
When I reflect back on it, it physiologically was uncomfortable, but more mentally painful.
Yeah. What was your lesson coming away from that?
Well, in that situation, getting back to your truck driving, I felt right before that accident, I felt like I'm glad I'm not driving right now. I'm super tired, blah, blah, blah. Thereafter, I'm driving. You're driving. No matter how tired I am, I'm driving. I want control and the ability to pull over if I can't handle the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds contrite. It sounds insignificant with the lesson that was learned in an accident of that magnitude. Yeah. Certainly do better. Think about others. I mean, all those bigger life lessons. But to take control is not lost in that situation. Not that I have to be a guy in control, but when it is something that responsible, I do want some control over my outcome.
Driver fall asleep?
Apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
And, alcohol was involved.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Everybody else in the vehicle was okay?
No, one other gentleman and myself had both had knee surgery about a week before, so we were both on crutches. The picture of the mining journal shows crutches scattered throughout the accident site.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, my orthopedic immersion started early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where did the accident happen?
Presque Isle.
Presque Isle? Right over here?
Right out my front yard. Yeah. So
Oh, really?
talk about perspective. I mean,
Jeez, man.
it could have gone much differently for me.
Yeah. And do you feel like that experience, that moment influenced you as a person moving forward?
When you have multiple people tell you that you're lucky to be alive and et cetera, that has an impact for sure. There's a reason for being and kind of higher thinking.
Yeah. If you go back to where we started in the beginning with the gentleman that you lived with and lived with, cared for, how much did that influence you as a person?
Tremendously. I mean, anytime you feel one feels like they have it bad, or they've been dealt bad cards.
Yeah.
Perspective. Seeing Reeve Darling was his name. Try to navigate life with a smile on his face. Grateful for the warm soup that you just made him. Mm-hmm. Grateful that he can work on his sip and puff computer. Yeah. Here's more. There's so much to this story. In his office that he ran was Rick Hilton. So this guy's, Paris Hilton's father. Paris wasn't quite born yet. And Rick had born with a gold spoon in his mouth. And, hearing him complain about the challenging flight to landing in Aspen in his private jet and, that the car has, his Rolls Royce has a rock in it, then the brakes squeak. And just hearing that juxtaposed to Reeve, who is asking me to itch his nose.
Yeah.
And Reeve is the happy one in the room, or grateful one in the room that he's not dead.
Yeah.
And Rick Hilton, I shouldn't use, I don't know how far this broadcast is going to go.
Yeah.
But
I get it, though. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Perspective was... here's more information you need to know too. So this guy's paralyzed from the waist down, and I'll abbreviate the story because it's long. But I'd tuck him in at night, so to speak, and which is a big, huge physiologic process, and end by putting a microphone next to his mouth, much like you and I have these podcasts right in our orifice here. Yeah. And then I'd go up and next to my bed, turn on the speaker or turn on the speaker.
Yep. Get
to bed, slow my brain down, go to sleep. Reeve calls me down. Wally, there's something biting my toe. Go flying down there, pull the sheets back, nothing there. I do this, just get back to sleep, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just getting back to sleep. This dance goes on probably 4 or 5 times. The 5th time I go down there, I pull the sheets back, there's a cockroach chewing on his toe. So, and the only thing Reeve can do, and his head's fixed, the only thing he can do is look at my face. And, so to talk about brain control, the first thing I got to do is not show any expression.
Right.
The second thing is I had to get this damn cockroach or we're never going back to bed, right? So I got the cockroach and gained, you can imagine the 4th time I got out of bed, what was going through my head, God, there's no goddamn cockroach or whatever. Mm-hmm. There was, listen to people. Yeah. People are typically speaking truth.
Yeah.
And also put yourself in their shoes. Here's a guy who's in bed, feels everything, and has the awareness that something's chewing on his toe.
You had, your awareness. You were 25, you said, 26?
Yeah.
Your awareness in that moment to understand the level of control you needed to have in your reaction to the circumstance.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, maybe thank you for that. I mean, maybe it's selfish because I want to get to bed, right? But I'd like to think, I'm thinking, as I said, I had to be Reeve in that moment.
Yeah.
And if I'm Reeve in that moment, I'm freaked the hell out.
Well, yeah.
So I didn't need to transmit that to him, that I was aware of that. He knew I was Reeve. But you're right. I tried to compose myself and I tried to get the cockroach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that people really grasp, like, the importance of having that sort of mental, emotional control, the ability to manage your body language, right? Sure, you wanted to go to sleep, but you're living, you and your girlfriend at the time,
right,
would be your wife down the road. You're living with these people, so it's pretty clear you're wired differently, almost from a perspective of a caretaker. You're seeing the world not only through your eyes, but through his.
Yeah, well, that was the difficult part of it. I couldn't see it through mine. I couldn't do it effectively seeing it through mine.
Right.
I had to be him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, for a 25-year-old male, hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for 50-year-old males.
Right. Right. Well, it's not for everybody, but I learned more from him than I did from just about anybody in med school.
Yeah.
Individually.
It's so with the events in 906 in the youth program, we get lots of stories. I don't know if you follow any of the pages, but lots of stories. And what I've learned through the years is the people who seem to be drawn to this and want to be part of the community, when you start to hear their life stories, the things that they've experienced or the things that something that happened to a friend or a loved one or things they've personally dealt with, struggled with, addiction, whatever. Lots of stories. So it just seems like when people have these experiences in life, it influences your life in a lot of different ways.
100%.
It really does. And it seems like, for you to be able to be there as a male in your mid-20s, to have just the knowledge that you need to be able to see the world through his eyes is just, that lesson alone, if more people could learn that right now, live a day in what is that? Live a day in another guy's shoes or something, or whatever that saying is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's easy to say, and it's hard. There are not many situations where you can be that granular.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say that I had some innate ability going into that, but no. It's boots on the ground. It's hugging his wife for him at the color purple, and many other circumstances like that.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That is so deep,
and it feels like life unfolds as it's supposed to, and sometimes it's hard to say to the person in the emergency room that just was in a horrible situation or has just lost somebody. However, that whole journey just unfolded for both my wife and I. We answered this ad in the Sunday Times, and it was the experience it was.
Yeah, and you went out there not at all expecting this, right?
Not expecting this, and maybe even trying to stay away from this.
Yeah.
I was not looking for, a big mental journey. I was looking to do the Southern California, let's go to the beach today, situation. We did some of that, but but in retrospect, it was one of the best experiences for 25-year-old Wally to go through.
Was that a year? How long was it?
Was
it
a year?
A year, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after the year, you came back.
Came back, jumped in med school.
And when you left, who cared for them?
Yeah, we had a staff of 2 other people,
Okay.
and that they hired somebody to replace my wife.
Gotcha.
And I. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. He unfortunately ended up. His wife, as I said, had mental illness, and unrelated to our departure, I'm quite certain. But she ended up taking her own life about a year after we left.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and this left Reeve, emotionally. But he still had a purpose in life and was trying to make other people's situations better. Ended up ultimately having a pulmonary situation, which he didn't have a great respiratory effort. So you're paralyzed; you can't move that diaphragm up and down and breathe as well as you and I. The Christopher Reeves situation. So he made the tough decision after being put on a ventilator just to have them turn the switch.
Oh.
Yeah. So again, I'll go back to the fact that his wife was mentally ill was much more of a handicap, and to appreciate that lesson as well. That in fact is a debilitating, medical situation.
Yeah.
It is not. It's chemical, but it is as profound as paralysis.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What did your wife do, or what does your wife do?
She's currently a children's book author.
I think we talked about that before.
Which is really fun. It's fun to.
How long has she been doing that?
About 12 years. Yeah.
No kidding.
Six published books.
And how did she get into that?
Well, we have 3 daughters, and she read a fair amount of literature to them, and some of it was very good, and some of it was not so good. And then some life experiences that she wanted to share with them, and then others. And it's a tough process. We talked about my medical journey. I think even though I was told to do the physical things that I did, staying up for 40 hours consecutively, the book industry is incredibly competitive and hard to navigate. And
Probably getting harder with AI.
harder with AI, harder with book censorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, libraries can't publish anything, or everything, I should say.
Right. So if she's writing, it's children's books. What is it? Just stories, life lessons? What's being communicated?
It's whatever moves her or she feels like the world needs to know. So, two recent examples: a story about the world's tallest tree, which is a coastal redwood in California, called Hyperion, and just a story about that tree. It's an environmental book, and then the next one is about Virginia Apgar. So it's a medical book. Everybody knows the Apgar score. Mm-hmm. I went through medical school. I thought that was just an acronym. It's a woman's name. She was a really strong woman. She was she went to medical school, was told she couldn't be a surgeon, couldn't be all these things, maybe an anesthesiologist. She did that and realized in medicine that all the attention was on the mother and the baby was just kind of cast aside. So she developed a score that forced people to look at the baby and come up with these 5 assessments. And it turns out babies survived better when that happened. So that was not the most recent book, but a book. And she's currently working on, well, it started out, back to Marquette, it started out called space junk. So the junk that is orbiting in space, the trash that we leave up there, we have a flag on the moon, but we left a lot more than that orbiting the Earth, which is a problem for spacecraft, for satellites, all the junk that's up there.
Yep.
So a group in Marquette has their mission to be able to retrieve space junk through dump trucks in space. And so that motivated Carrie to write a story about that. The publishing world wasn't ready for that, but she's currently been asked to write a proposition on just the garbage situation in the world, which is really a depressing thing to be aware of.
Yeah.
But she's laboring through that, hoping that some young mind is going to figure out a way to make create awareness, more awareness, and create solution. So that's the current book en route.
Is there not a solution currently for the garbage?
There are space garbage or world garbage?
Both.
Not enough, apparently.
Yeah.
And just look at these floating islands in the ocean.
Yeah.
So, developing bacteria that eat microplastics. I mean, we need smart people figuring this out.
Yeah.
Because we humans have done some stupid stuff to our planet.
Space Junk is a kid's book?
That was going to be a kid's book, and it may be a middle grade book now with the trash situation. The publisher said, "Yeah, this is compelling, but you needed a little bigger picture."
Okay.
So let's tackle world garbage.
And then what about the book before that, Apgar? What's the title of that book? Do you know?
I think it's Virginia Apgar or The Amazing World. Boy, oh boy. I'm
Putting you on the spot.
I might go home to locked doors again. Hope she's as benevolent as my dad.
Are the books written under her name?
Oh yeah.
So her name, the author is
Carrie Pearson.
Okay.
Carrie A. Pearson.
Okay. And what reading level for kids?
She's done 5 children's books. So those are like the thicker books, typically about 28 pages. And the most recent one, which is Watch Them Grow, which is about animal gestation. And she's chose about 10 or so animals that have unique adaptation to survive in their world and how those are manifested and apparent within gestation. So it's a pretty graphic book of intrauterine pictures, and it's really interesting. That's a little higher level science, so that's what's called the middle grade book.
Okay.
A little bit older kids. I mean, it gets into genetics and chromosomes.
By middle, are we talking middle school, high school?
Usually about 8 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really interesting. She and I labored through the whole genetic process, and I jumped back into some textbooks to navigate that.
Oh, so you're involved a little bit.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's really fun to see. From my perspective, to see something that starts as a thought and then just literally years of research. Then that you present us to the publishing world, and for example. The Harry Potter books were denied the first several times by publishers.
Were they?
Yeah, even though it's very compelling and obviously super successful.
Yeah.
So it's not atypical. A matter of fact, it's most common to have books rejected, and then suddenly you get a bite and it takes off. And
denied on what grounds originally for Harry Potter?
Just this is not compelling for our group. For Harry Potter, I can't speak to that, but things that I've seen, this really resonates with me, but either there's another book that that might have filled that niche, or it doesn't completely fill what we're looking for.
Yeah.
They're talented with a written word, so they eloquently tell you that book's not for them.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, hey? That you're presenting this story, and then somebody in a spot somewhere is just deciding if it's a good time for the world or not.
Yeah, and it's not even that nice. I mean, Carrie would come to me periodically and say, to get a rejection letter, at least you know where you stand. You send this stuff out, and then it's radio silence for months to years.
Really?
So a good day is I got a really nice rejection letter. So, and clearly they're not all rejection letters.
Right.
6 published books, but each of those journeys has been fraught with delay and no response or a negative response. So the ambiguity, I guess the disrespect that is out there in this genre related to lack of follow-up or explanation. It's just, radio silence and then sometimes a nice rejection letter.
So she's gone the route of working with publishers?
Correct. Yeah.
Versus self-publishing?
Yeah. So independent publishing, she didn't want that route for several reasons. Number one, when her book finally does come out with a publisher, it's been vetted by so many eyeballs and so many talented people, and it is the best of her work.
Got it. So the best version of what it could be.
Correct. And usually morphs into a bit of a different tangent than initially presented. And she'll ultimately agree that it is a better product. An independent publisher, you do the best you can do, and then you go to press and you press it yourself,
right? And
then you have to do the dog and pony show as well, right?
Yeah,
you gotta put it in the back of your car and drive around. Not that she's opposed to that, because you're interfacing.
Yep.
But working with a Random House publisher or something like that, you have a little bit more action.
Okay, I see
Pros
and cons. Yeah, tough world.
Yeah, there are not many authors out there that are really able to make a decent living. It's not all like the Harry Potter books. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of hardworking people that are not getting the recognition or getting their really good work out there just because it's so competitive.
How many publishers are there? Do you know?
That's a good question. There's a top 5, I know. And then there's a whole bunch of small houses that just take on projects, don't have much money, have to be incredibly, well, they're all very discerning because they invest into the book before it makes them money. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it's a different world I knew very little about. But to get back to, I respect her for doing the hard work and still believing in the process, even though oftentimes it doesn't get to the level that you want it to. She's written many, many books that have not gotten to press.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
But, it's all about the motivation. You were talking about hearing the stories and being involved with people that have made their lives better through surviving cancer or getting their kids in the right direction, or even just sharing, the outdoor environment. To have Carrie see a child or have a mother send a picture of the mother in the child lap reading the book, that's super empowering.
Yeah.
Knowing you're connecting to a family in a really critical time frame to get families together doing this activity of reading.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome, because there's probably not as much of that happening today as it did 50 years ago.
Correct.
Stacy, I remember Stacy with cable, and Gavin. She was reading to them all the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But that is definitely, it seems like that's something that's tailing off.
Cable, you mean your child, not the connection to your
Yes, Cable, the youngest.
All right.
Right. When you were talking about residency and just the number of hours you'd have to work and how they've since addressed it and maybe made it, more civilized. I always feel like it's a catch-22 to some degree, because the fact that you could work that schedule, you're capable of it. You could do it. People could do it. It's clearly within our ability.
Right.
Right. And in order to reach that level and do it at that level, there is a certain level of tenacity, resilience, and work ethic that is required to hit that bar. So we'll just say, here's the bar. And then because we have the luxury of making things easier, we have the ability to, as people, we're like, you know what, that's just too hard. That's unrealistic for whatever reason. We're going to put the bar here. But it's like we've got this tension that we're constantly battling with, because Yeah. I mean, we had this conversation. Do you know who Paul Heitman is?
Yeah.
So we had this conversation after an episode with Paul. He's talking about how in his day as a miner, he's in the hole, in the pit, pickaxe, his sandwich. He's in a foot to 2 feet of water, underground all day. He's got a little light on his helmet, right? There's stuff falling. There's bugs falling from the ceiling into his sandwich as he's eating it. That was life then. Okay, well, is that a good life? No. Versus to now where ore is almost essentially no touch. That
Right.
the spectrum between the two realities, and I don't know what that was, if it's 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is. I just, like, how do we balance between the ability to make everything easier and more comfortable?
Right.
Because it seems like, yes, we can do that, but then you also lose something with it. You gain something, but you lose something.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you push yourself that hard? I mean, granted, it happened for good reason, safety.
Yeah.
Number one, but you're right. The comfort crisis.
Yeah.
Are we making it too easy, not pushing ourselves?
Is that Michael Easter that wrote that? Have you read that?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Portions of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are many. We can push ourselves to solve trash problems. There are many ways to benefit community in the world, short of staying up for 123 hours a week or picking axe a mile underneath the soil.
Right.
Right. And everybody, back to what you just described in that mine situation, I could never do that. I mean, that's a mental toughness that in my mind, far surpasses staying up 23 hours a week. That's tenacity that I don't necessarily have.
Those men and women who did that are built different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
there's no doubt.
Yeah. It's, I can't speak to his journey, but I would think if I were that person down there, what would be motivating me to swing that axe is to provide for the family.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Maybe it's a love of the earth but it's so, everybody has their own motivation. And with motivation, we can do some really hard things, even things we haven't even identified yet that think, it's a bar that's too high.
Right.
Approach that bar.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
What do you do now in the theme of doing hard things? You're retired.
Yes, I'm retired.
So what are you doing?
This is kind of weird to verbalize, and I'm just coming to this realization, but I feel like I do have energy to give to the community, and I have energy to give to healthcare. And right now, the biggest challenge for me is to see with this energy how I can best benefit the world around me. It's not that I'm this incredibly altruistic person. I like to be in motion and doing things. And I've got a friend who says altruism really is a selfish thing. Altruism is the trying to benefit others.
Yeah.
But it turns out that makes one feel good.
Yeah.
So being altruistic isn't necessarily about the community. It's making Wally feel good.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out what I can do most effectively with the energy and time I have left.
Yeah. Got any ideas what that's going to be?
Well, currently it's NTN, and I feel like I can apply myself more to NTN. It's a big apple, and there are many challenges that we face, and you face the same challenges. So I can more effectively apply there. Beyond that, I think I'd like to, as I mentioned, jump back into healthcare in some aspect, whether that's reinitiating the cadaveric program at Northern.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be. And again, that benefits so many people.
Yeah. The nursing program here is quite successful, right?
Correct. It's a very good nursing program.
Yeah.
And they go up to a PhD level. And they have they have a good pre-medical program, and some of those medical students are not accepted the first year or two, and they're coming back and doing graduate work here. So an advanced level anatomy class would benefit them. And they have allied healthcare programs at Northern also that come through and benefit from that.
How long does it take to spin up a program like that?
Well,
years.
If you have the horsepower of Carrie Schuling, who was the interim president and has retired, and I'm hoping she's going to come back at some point. She's a motivator. She's connected. She had that program from thought to constructive meetings with all the deans of the various programs going within months.
Wow.
She's the one that
Getting after it.
got the Body Farm, if you will, program going pretty quickly. She
Mm-hmm.
got the THC program going at Northern pretty quickly. Those are both pretty controversial things that
Mm-hmm.
she gathered people, like-minded people, and got good energy behind it. So with somebody like that, I'm hoping and particularly since we have done some legwork already, within a year, I'd hope to be moving down the road.
Good. Let's, I want to dig into the NTN stuff, but I need to go to the bathroom first.
All right.
Can we hit pause? Okay.
Very good.
I'll be right back. We're back. Sorry about that, Wally.
No problem.
Small bladder.
It's telling Wally how much I don't drink.
So let's talk trails. Let's talk NTN. That's
Yes.
one thing we wanted to get into. So you have been NTN president for how long now?
President, I joined NTN in 21,
Okay.
5 years ago, and president for just about 4 years.
So were you on the board in 21?
Yeah, joined the board in 21.
Okay. And then when did you take over as president?
About a year and a half later, which doesn't really make sense. There are people on the board who have been present for a long time. So it feels kind of disingenuous that I went from sitting around the table to being the president. I think it happened for several reasons. But I was asked to be president. I don't know if there was any specific reason. I was a bit of new energy in the room. And I think new perspectives is good in any situation.
Yep.
I think I was non-biased by history.
Yep.
I came in naive, and I'm still learning the history of NTN.
Yep.
Actually doing a bit of a historical perspective, just trying to put an NTN history together, and it's really quite remarkable. Is an interesting side discussion. I was going back through notes of NTN when it was formed in 2001, and they have one of the first meeting minutes I read. They have kind of a grandiose plan for the future, throwing spaghetti against the wall, shooting high, seeing what was going to happen. And they not only achieved, the NTN, not only achieved what they were shooting for back in 2001, they far surpassed it. So,
What were they shooting for?
50 miles of single track trail.
Gotcha.
Interface in the community, all the things. But that goes back to our discussion before about setting the bar high.
Yeah.
You challenge yourself,
Yeah.
and you might succeed or you might go above that bar.
Yeah. When it was founded, you said 01?
01.
My understanding may be wrong. Was it a ski group?
So it's interesting. It's confusing, even for me on the board for the first year or so. No Caymanon shared the same name as the ski marathon. So the No Caymanon ski marathon first happened in 1998.
Okay.
It was a thing for 3 years before the No Caymanon Trail Network was formed.
Okay.
The No Caymanon Trail Network was formed because they realized that with a No Caymanon ski race, that's great, but that's cross-country skiing, and we can be and should be bigger than that. And so, to develop single track for mountain biking, for hiking, at that point, there was water trails along the lake. There was even some equestrian stuff. So that was the reason in 01 they formed the NTN.
When you said equestrian stuff, are you saying equestrian stuff as part of NTN?
I believe initially it was. And then I think they needed to create space specifically for horses that is
Which
remote.
makes sense.
Yeah, remote for safety, safety of the horses, for better trails.
Yeah.
For both, right? Better horses, trails for the horses, and better mountain bike experience or hiking experience without horse poop or horse sprints.
Yeah.
So they navigated that. So again, back to why I was present. You can imagine the various entities. We've got skiers on the board. We've got mountain bikers on the board. At that point, it was a little more bipolar, and everybody had their own interests in mind. Many people were wearing two hats, but when I joined the board, and the board is now united in the NTN as one, but for a while there were separate issues on the same board. I'm not completely aware of any of that history or biased by any of that history.
Yeah. Which is good.
It's good, right?
Yeah. I think you coming in, so if it was formed in 2001, you're looking at, they'll be coming up in 25 years.
Correct.
if you have the same group of people circulating through leadership ranks at some point, that becomes a bit of a limiting factor.
Right.
I'm not saying just for NTN, just in general, even if you're running a corporation, you need to get somebody new because they're going to look at things completely differently than you would if you've been around for 20 years.
Right, which is not a discredit to those that did the heavy lifting.
Absolutely not.
They were the visionaries, and it's surprising, though, many of them are not directly tied to what motivated them to do the hard lifting. But you're right, new perspective is helpful.
It's very
whatever
helpful.
it is.
You know what's interesting is Stacy and our family moved to Marquette, I think it was 2009. And from 2009 to 12, we lived in Negaunee Township.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gone all the time working because I was still with Cisco at that time. So I was on the road. So I was here, but I wasn't really here.
Right.
Learned about the trails, learned about NTN, No Cayman Trail Network. But my perception at that time was that it was a ski group. And then as we got into like 2012, 13, 14-ish, it seemed like that was the time where all of a sudden there was this uptick in focus on single track and mountain biking trails. I don't know when the single track committee became a thing. Maybe it was a thing all along, but it seemed like that's when it started picking up steam for trails. Do you recall that?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to. I wasn't involved, obviously. I was doing different work, but I'm trying, as I'm doing this historical, moderately deep dive, what correlates with that time frame. And I don't know if it's mechanized trail building, if we suddenly went beyond the pickaxe and shovel, or if there were. I'll investigate that. If there was different energies, the single track people. Maybe did a tangent from skiing. It is somewhat unfortunate that it's the same name of the ski marathon as it is with the NTN Trail Network. So the ski marathon and Ore to Shore are not part of NTN. Those Venn diagrams overlap a great deal, but the Trail Network is its own entity and really provides the substrate for the others to occur.
So the ski marathon is not underneath the NTN umbrella?
No.
I knew about Ore to Shore. Wasn't it under NTN for a period of time and then it went out on its own within the last few years? Ore to Shore?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is admittedly a little confusing.
Right.
For sure. And I think that, boy, that's interesting. I thought that the ski marathon was underneath the NTN umbrella.
It reports to the NTN for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and a member of our board is involved with the ski marathon. Several members, actually.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought that skiing was a huge part of the organization. But then as single track and mountain biking in general just became more of a thing that Marquette became known for.
Right.
When I was on the single track committee at that time, it seemed like there was a bit of a shifting in identity, and because single track was becoming a big thing,
right,
a big part of the organization, it seemed to be like the thing that was the lead conversation piece.
Well, based on the time frame, and I can't remember this date, and I can go home and find it, but Mountain Bike Magazine named Marquette the second best place for mountain biking in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I think that does correlate with your time frame.
Yeah, it's probably right in that arena.
Yeah, and snow biking too, the popularity of snow biking and the trail preparation, I guess the way skiing is, there's a fair amount of labor that goes into preparing a trail.
Yeah, they did. So I think one of Aaron's early works, Cold Rolled.
Yeah, right.
That was in that 2014, 2015, somewhere in that area, in that window. That is the same window where we started Polar Roll, featuring snow biking here in Marquette County, because we linked Marquette and Ishpeming. So yeah, that was around that general timeline where all of a sudden biking was taking center stage.
Right. Yeah, related to snow biking, I haven't verified this, but I was told that Marquette and Alaska were the first two places, A, to have snow biking, and B, to have groomed trails for snow biking.
Yeah. Interesting that it's 906 and 907.
907 is Alaska?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a bike brand.
Is the whole state of Alaska one zip code?
I think so.
Area code?
I think so.
Huh.
I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah, so 906 and 907. Pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's probably no correlation, but... So what are the challenges you guys are facing today?
Two main challenges: land pressure.
Yep.
Land maintaining what we have, or even developing what we have. There's so much land pressure, and the awareness of mountain biking, the awareness of the environmental beauty that we have in this area is a mixed blessing.
Yeah.
We're getting pressures from people buying up land from Seattle that haven't seen the place.
Yeah.
So maintaining access to land, keeping landowners happy, and even further gaining land is a huge challenge, both in terms of conversation as well as finances. So to buy land now, to have control on land, is really expensive.
Yeah.
But necessary. I mean, it's cheaper today than it will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I feel this. I was going to ask you, and I will ask you after I finish this, what keeps you awake at night? Mm-hmm. What keeps me awake currently related to the NTN is if we don't act now, if we did act now, am I going to bankrupt NTN by buying a chunk of land somewhere? Yep. Or if we buy a chunk of land somewhere, is history going to show that was the best thing that we did? Mm-hmm. So making these tough decisions really with a super tight budget. Mm-hmm. I mean, the numbers in the NTN budget are big, but our demands are huge. And, insurance, you and I talked insurance about the Margie.
Oh, yeah.
We just got dropped by our insurance company 2 weeks ago, and we're scrambling to pay stupid money for coverage. And that's just one small example of the huge expenditures that it costs to maintain this trail network. Yeah. So the finances keep me awake at night, trying to figure out how we're going to do what we're going to do, and being proactive on making the environment or making the recreation community either treading water or making it better.
Do you know off the top of your head, and if you don't, it's not a big deal, do you know what percentage of the NTN's annual budget or revenue is through donors, charitable donations?
I'm ashamed that I don't know the exact number, but it's the majority.
Is it?
We have very few grants comparative to membership fees. It's really all about membership fees.
Okay, so the membership fees, are those considered the contributions?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no. To buy a ski pass,
yeah,
that's a membership.
Okay, so it is.
And I shouldn't say ski pass. Whoops. So this is trail access.
Yes.
So mountain biking as well. You should have a trail pass.
Right.
You should have a membership.
Trail pass for riding where?
Riding our trails.
Okay.
We have to maintain these trails, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited about new trail development, but we have such a network of trails. It takes a lot of energy to maintain those trails.
Do you know? I can't remember if this number was produced when, because I know that all the trail networks were working with, I think, LSCP and Eagle to do some analysis, financial analysis on
environmental impact study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what it costs to build 1 mile of trail?
Well, the number that's thrown around by Rock Solid and others is, and this is astounding, is around $75,000 to $100,000 per mile of mechanized trail building.
That's astounding.
Yeah, it's worth pausing and $75,000 per mile, and then that trail has to be maintained.
Right.
So yeah, it's expensive, and that's if you have free access to the land as well.
Yeah. Do you guys have a number on what it costs to maintain a mile of trail?
That's a good question. I don't. I could get that as well.
Yeah, I'd just be curious because I haven't heard the number.
Yeah.
But obviously a big part of trail infrastructure is not just building it, but then maintaining it in the perpetuity, right? Right.
So back to that LSCP study that was done quite technically. I mean, it was a pretty accurate number, and it's a public number, so I can state it here. It's actually been published. So annually, the trail system, including Ramba, brings into Marquette County over $31 million. So yeah, $75,000 per mile of trail sounds outrageous, but the downstream benefit to a community is is well over. That's a low ball estimate. It's 31 million annually. But we don't have a way. So how do you monetize that? We are in the state of Michigan unable to put a hotel tax or taxes on a city. I guess apparently you have to be a community of 250,000 or more to do that. I'm not quite sure why the populace of the area has anything to do with that, because it's really theoretically outside money that's coming in and paying that tax. But we don't have a direct way to monetize the trails. Some have suggested. I know Hood River has access to forest land, and they have to maintain the forest land trails, and they know it's bringing in a lot of money, but they can't charge for the trails because they don't own the trails. Analogous to much of our trail network. They just this year started requiring a parking pass for parking, and it generated a fair amount of money for them. If we were to do that at the land that we own, which is the South Trailhead, which is an incredibly expensive project and piece of land, that feels disingenuous to the local people because they pay market taxes, so we feel badly about that. However, a quick survey of license plates in that parking lot, you realize a lot of these people are from out of town. We have a QR code out there where people can scan and donate money, and it's shocking how ineffective that is. I mean, it might be one donation a week of $10.
Really?
Despite the number of people that I approach on the trail, and they are thrilled with their experience and want to know how they can donate, and it's pretty clear how they can. So, if we had a system where Marquette people maybe got a free pass and others had to buy a pass, that would generate some revenue. Somehow we have to figure out how to maintain financially the trails that we're building.
How many cars go through South Trail parking lot in a year? Do you know? Have you ever had a counter on it?
We've not had a counter on it. We have a counter on the trail system, and it's astounding the number of people that pass that. And we could extrapolate to cars, I guess.
It would be interesting just to run some math on number of cars in and out, and start putting some numbers on it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, whether you live here or not, we have to be invested in making sure that the trail system's sustainable. And you can definitely see the pressure on the trail system from all the additional traffic. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Unfortunately, I don't get on the trails that much as I should for a lot of reasons. My personal health, my mental health, as well as awareness of the trails. But I'll navigate a trail and, come around a corner knowing that there is a small route there, and come around the corner and the route's totally exposed and bare. That shows the amount of erosion and pressure the trails are getting. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. You build trails because you want them to be used. The ultimate compliment to you is that the trails are used because they're desirable. But then you have an obligation to maintain those trails.
100%.
And it's not sexy to maintain trails. It's sexy to build new trails. But then that expands the amount of work that needs to be done in maintenance.
Can we go back to the land pressure for a minute? Because I think that, land pressure, yes, it's a thing in the UP. I'd say what we've learned, because 906 has youth teams in 17, it'll be 17 communities as of this coming year.
Congratulations.
So we get a look into other communities regularly outside of the UP, outside of Marquette. And the issues, what I have always been blown away by is how much we are all the same. Meaning the issues here are oftentimes the same issues there. And a lot of times, like we'll get into our communities, and when we go to a new community, every new community we go to, when it comes to the price for a kid to join my club, almost to a person, every time we put a new team out, that community will say, I don't know if we're going to be able to get $125 for that kid for the summer because our community is so economically depressed. Everybody thinks their community is so economically depressed, but at the end of the day, we're all very similar. So the trail concerns, the property concerns, access issues, it's everywhere. Do you guys have, what other groups do you work with outside the silent sport community? Outside of mountain bike? So like you and I've talked about it before, motorized. Other groups that are also, because, at the end of the day, in theory, you might be competing for trail.
For land.
And land access with these other groups.
Yeah, well, we're a non-motorized trail network.
Yep.
So we don't have affiliations as you do with motorsports. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. As a matter of fact, we all are in this Venn diagram together, particularly when it comes down to Tarma, the land.
Right.
So awareness and communication is critical in anything.
Yeah.
But we don't have we don't have any direct board access or direct communication with motorized sports.
Gotcha. That's interesting because you and I have talked about this. Like, I think that for us, well, going back to your orthopedic example, when all the orthopods came together to start sharing information, the power of that collaboration,
right,
and how you ended up developing a program that had not just state, but maybe national and international impact. Mm-hmm. Now, in that scenario, you could say the commonality is you're all orthopedic surgeons. You're all running your offices. But then you had also mentioned jock mentality, right, and the competitive pressures. You all want to win, right. I think the same thing happens in trail groups.
100%.
It's just a different world that it's happening in. Mm-hmm. And again, this is not just in Marquette County. This is just globally where there's trails and multiple trail groups. There's this type of struggle, friction.
Right.
I think one of the key pieces for us is we've got to have, because I have conversations with snowmobile groups. I'm on their board. I'm on the NCT's board. I'm not involved with ORV, but we have conversations because Tony attends he was just at the snowmobile meeting last week. If we don't work together in the UP, and also probably even bringing in other people like Lime, et cetera, which you guys may also have conversations with, I don't know, we all stand to lose.
Right.
We will all lose. Right. And part of it may be because we're not working together.
And I'll even pull back a little bit further for the Mile High view. I would think if I were a landowner and want my land to be used for recreation, which is commendable, I would want to see these groups getting along and communicating.
Absolutely.
Right. Why turn it over if there's going to be bickering?
Right. Yeah. Open communication is, I think sometimes, the first step to getting past some of the misconceptions or even issues maybe that linger from the past is just having an open line of communication so that people feel like they're being heard.
Right.
And not just heard in an echo chamber, but in an open format and forum where the goal is collaboration and continuity.
Right.
And community.
I'm thinking back to when we first had ski trails around here. It would be a good ski if I'd go out and not be confronted or accosted by snowmobiles on our trail.
Yep.
And, it turns out when they get their trail and we got our trails and we can coexist together, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
A snowmobiler doesn't want to hit a cross-country skier. A cross-country skier doesn't want to ski in front of a snowmobile.
Right.
So that was resolved through communication, and they got their trails and we had ours.
Yeah. When you guys, I want to go back to that orthopedic example. You had to sell all these different practices or the docs on something, right?
I entered in after that collaboration had started.
Okay.
Yeah, but it took a big thinker to break that ice for sure.
And how did they? Like, what was the one bonding idea? Do you recall?
I don't know exactly, but I suspect it was communication it started at U of M, and communication with a respectable person to another person saying, we see that you're doing a lot of joints as in joint replacements. We can be better together. And it's hard to say no to that. I in my mind, that's how I organically feel like it happened.
So was there just sort of this belief that by working together, all of the parties involved would do better? They'd benefit from that collaboration?
It must have been that. There was no financial incentive. They weren't paid to come to this meeting.
Right.
They were just doing the right thing. Ultimately, as a physician, it's about the patient.
Yeah.
And if you can make your patient experience better or your surgical ability better, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's what appealed to these various competitive jock mentality surgeons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not atypical to go through Chicago back in the day and have a billboard of an orthopod showing how small his skin incision is for a hip replacement to get business from the orthopod across the street.
Oh, yeah.
So somehow,
on billboards?
It used to be that way, yeah. so somehow that competitive nature went from that in the state of Michigan to pretty collaborative.
I got to think that by participating in this group and through whatever improvements came from it, whether it's patient experience or procedural or just creating better outcomes, there's got to be some financial downstream impact.
Wow.
Wouldn't you think that there's somewhere down there?
I do not. I can honestly say the group of people I interacted with, that was not a carrot. That was not a motivating force. I think looking at what was achieved by that committee or that group of people, ultimately maybe it made one more efficient in the operating room, and you could do 6 total knees in a day or 7 or 8 because of the efficiencies created. Well, there were efficiencies created by that group. We talked about just having ways to make the operating room more efficient, how to set up your team, how to set up the room. But it wasn't necessarily a financial incentive. It was about improving the experience and the outcomes.
Yeah.
It was about outcomes.
Yeah, which is good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which is good. Better outcomes, better patient experience.
I remember we had a guy come in. There was an outside speaker from Harvard, and he said, I have no idea how you achieve this in the state of Michigan, and I come from the ivory towers of the East Coast and blah, blah, blah. What you're achieving here is really unique. And to have, why did it take that long? Why did it happen in Michigan? I don't know. But I'm grateful it did. It was one of the more impactful things of my professional career for sure. And your wife in Marquette and the UP did the hard work. I just got to go and realize that this was working. And she told me, yeah, this is working because the numbers I put into the system.
She'll appreciate hearing that.
Yeah. Well, she deserves it. Hopefully I've told her that a few times.
Yeah, I'm certain that she knows that. She enjoyed working with you.
Yeah.
She enjoyed that work with Marky.
Yeah.
Just in general, the experience.
If you're in healthcare for the reasons that people should be in healthcare, that's impactful.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful.
Yeah. So if we have, how do we get our trail groups in the UP to get at a table and talk to each other?
That's a really good question. Well, it starts with the easy communication in the community. And this community is fortunately small, and you run into people. I think looking at, back to the orthopedic example, looking at the outcome, looking at improving your outcomes, making the experience better, whatever it is, a total joint replacement or a better trail system, and how those trails are utilized. So it's about communication and how we can do it better.
Yeah.
Communication better and the goals that are, what our mission statements are, how to make the mission statement successful.
Yeah. I think my opinion on it personally is that the difference maker is getting everybody at a table with some representation from NTN, Ramba, MUPSA, that's the snowmobile group, ORV, having conversations. And the key is, right, you have to send somebody from each organization that's coming to the table desiring to have a better outcome for the entirety of the community,
right?
Not just their singular group, which will require some give and take,
right?
Honestly, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but the Keweenaw through Cork, Keweenaw Off-Road Recreation Committee, I think it is, they've done that up there, and I was introduced to that because we went up to the Keweenaw with the Crusher,
right,
this past summer. So I ended up going to a meeting, got to meet everybody, and that model exists up there.
With the silent sports and the motorized sports?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. City officials, township officials, representatives from all of the groups, and they have managed to create a sort of unified vision for the Keweenaw community as a whole. And it was astounding to me how collaborative and welcoming it was for me to go in and talk to each of the groups. Like I was interfacing with folks from Copper Harbor Trails, from the snowmobile group, from the ORV group, and they all help make the event happen. But they have a very unified vision and open communication that I believe, if it's not happening monthly, it's happening close to monthly. It's quite frequent.
Well,
that would be something for us to look at.
absolutely. Well, any relationship, it's about communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the amount of time in between communication is critical as well. I mean, you get too much to talk about or hard feelings because of some event happening. So frequent communication. Interesting to put the non-motorized group in there, but it does make sense. I would think the Ramba 906, the silent sports people probably meet first and then agree to a mission with the motorized sports.
Yeah, Aaron Rogers from Rock Solid is involved in that with that group, and he might be an interesting person to talk to, even just to get some of the perspective on how that group was brought together and why. And we've been talking to him because we hosted Crusher on their Trails End campground.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to be working on the project here.
Well, he's got some perspective, not just in the Keweenaw, but
across the country.
Right.
But again, I mean, land access isn't just a unique problem to the UP. Right. It's everywhere.
100%.
It really is everywhere. Although I keep hearing from everybody, people coming up from outside the area purchasing land. That definitely, even that's almost like something separate from getting everybody together, because everybody can get together, but we need to have some sort of, I guess, unified front on how to approach the land sell-off.
Right. Well, again, it's if you build it, they will come. It's a compliment to what we've done. We being the recreation community and the arts community, market community in general. It's a desirable place. That's the relative downside.
What big trail projects do you have on the horizon for NTN?
I mean, there's just so many moving parts. The first one that popped in my head is out by the Brickyard Road, up by Lowe's. I think that's called the Dead River Community Forest or something like that. Hiking trails going in there. Just put a pavilion in on the Wells Road out off of Grove Street. You got to finish up that and then build.
That's township.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, and they're all in now too. They've not been outdoor trail access oriented, and they've been incredibly helpful with that pavilion.
That's awesome,
financially and physically. And we've got a trail system. We just are opening there for dog walkers only. Dog on It is the name of the trail. So it's just for hiking with your dog.
Oh, cool.
And some other loops we need to build up there for mountain biking. There's projects. I'm going through a whole bunch of my South Trail access. There's always activity there. We're going to do trail maintenance on the South Trail and the North Trail. We're building some more stuff up off the trailhead at NTN in Forestville. Powell Township has stuff going on. Yeah, a long list.
What about the property in the township? Is there a project that you're going to be tied into?
So off of the Heritage Trail, or IOHT, right about where the trestle goes across, the Koski family donated a fair amount of land there. Right. It's going to be on the south side of the IOHT. I mean, that's all going to be new development. Two big loops, an advanced loop and an intermediate loop, all in theory are going to be right off the IOHT. That's got to happen. Yeah.
Any idea what the timeline is on that?
I mean, it's a person power, not manpower. It's a person power thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's a financial thing. Yeah. It's a bandwidth thing. Yeah. Got to maintain these trails. We're building new trails. I've got to finish up it's an endless list for a finite number of people.
Right. So NTN will be the one building the trail.
Correct.
Do you know what the proposed mileage is?
Don't.
No. Okay. That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
It's a nice, if you look at the property, I've looked at it on Onyx. It looks very interesting. Have you looked at it?
Excuse me, I'm aware of where it is. But yeah, it looks like it's kind of bluff like.
Yes.
It's beautiful terrain. The challenge will be, I mentioned intermediate loop. The challenge would be the approach is pretty steep right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hard approach, but our trail builders are knowledgeable and will make it super fun.
They'll make it happen.
There's so many moving parts that it's hard. I'll answer what keeps me awake. Also, there's to prioritize where your energy and resources are going to go when there's a really long list.
Yeah.
What keeps you awake at night?
Well, we've been talking about this a little bit lately. The organization is just so tethered to me as a person that, for the last year I've said, and this was probably, we were talking about this before we lost Tara. I brought Tara in because this thing was becoming much bigger than me. I couldn't handle it, just me anymore. So we needed a backup in case something happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've always known that we have to have a plan beyond like the original cast of characters that started it. And I've really started trying to ramp up that conversation a little bit more because the growth has been exponential.
Mm-hmm.
It's not slowing down right now. And, you don't just decouple and turn things over to a new board overnight.
Right.
You don't just find a replacement for me overnight. This is a multi-year strategic runway that's got to be built.
Right.
So that's the thing for me that really has been on my mind a lot, is just making sure that the teams that we have today that count on us
mm-hmm.
and the community that's been built around the events, that we have a plan to ensure that when we're not doing this anymore, that continues to be available.
Self-sustaining.
Yeah, so it sustains itself. I say this all the time. People might get tired of hearing me say it, but a book that really influenced me was Good to Great from Jim Collins. And the whole book is an analysis on what differentiated great companies from good companies.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one thing that differentiated the great companies from good companies was that the charismatic leaders who built companies to not need them, those companies continued on at the level that they operated at with the leader after the leader moved on.
Mm.
And I mean, that's really, I would think that for 906 and even for NTN, that's got to be our goal, right?
Right.
Because our two orgs are what I would say in the space that we're in, outdoor rec, community building, even health, wellness to a degree.
Absolutely.
There are not two other more prominent nonprofit orgs than our two orgs. We have to be successful.
Right.
Failure is not a freaking option.
It's not an option.
It is not an option.
No. Yeah, the other side of that is how big you're going to go, and then just keep raising that bar.
Right.
But it's beyond one individual.
Absolutely. It has to be beyond one individual. It has to be beyond one board. And there just has to be, I think, a selfless approach to, it shouldn't be exceptional or exemplary, the work that we do. Like, it should be more common. Right now, sometimes I feel like the work that gets put in by a lot of high-level volunteers, it seems, it is amazing, but it seems even more amazing and rare because there just seems to be a bit of not enough people doing it.
Yeah, volunteerism is down a little bit.
It is.
Yeah.
Service clubs are struggling. Legacy's service clubs they're not in good shape. I don't know what that's attributed to. But it is it's a tough road out there.
Yeah, it certainly had impact on both of our entities.
Yeah, and it's we've talked about this because I think since you took over as president of the board, we've had what I would say is pretty regular conversation that even sometimes the hurdle we have to overcome is making sure that the organizations are working together
right
all the time, that they're on the same page, because the Marquette County community is better if we have a great relationship.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And if there's synergy and collaboration between the two, like going back to the whole, not to keep going back to the orthopod example, but there's no reason that the work that we do within the community doesn't make the community better and that we continue to do better as organizations together.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. The Venn diagrams overlap enough that we have to, communication's critical.
100%. I mean, when you look at the community, like if I'd say just about anybody who identifies as, let's say, an NTN member, there's probably a good chance that they also identify as a 906 member. Mm-hmm. Where it gets a little tricky is when you have, there is a group sometimes in the middle that only identifies with one or the other. And then there may be a bit of a friction in that. And I do actually really think that's the minority.
Right.
I think for the most part in our community, if you're pro NTN, you're pro 906. And if you're pro 906, you're pro NTN because you get it. Going back to the jock mentality, I think sometimes those are the folks that end up
right
in the middle, not necessarily doing things that are beneficial for continuity.
Yeah, but fortunately, that is the subset. That's the minority.
The minority.
Yeah.
I agree 100% on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that oftentimes gets the traction. That gets
the vocal.
Right.
Yes.
But we can work through that, and communication about the topic. Maybe the topic's real for those two individuals, but it can be communicated and resolved.
Yeah. I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic about our ability within Marquette County to have all of our groups on the same page. Not just NTN and 906. I'd say all groups, regardless of what the mode of recreation is outdoors. Mm-hmm. I think motorized, not motorized. I'm extremely optimistic and bullish on it because I think that if you can get past maybe some of the bad history or, things that happened 30 years ago that have left a bad taste in somebody's mouth, I think there's enough people now who get it. Like, we're better off together. Mm-hmm. I think that there's an appetite for a conversation to be had. You and I have been talking about it for a couple of years. I had talked to Matt from Eagle. Matt's on our board. I talked to him numerous times about the study that was going on, and I'm like, you got to bring in motorized. Like, you got to get everybody at the table for this to really have the maximal outcome for all parties involved. And I think we just got to keep pushing that.
So in the economic impact study, mm-hmm. You're right. There is an impact there.
Yeah.
And we're utilizing the same space. We've got
lots of overlap.
Yeah, certainly aware of each other's desire, and if they're better, we're better too.
Yeah. When I went to the Snowmobile Club 11 years ago to pitch Polaroid, mm-hmm. Do you know what the first thing they asked me was?
No.
Are you one of those no Cayman on guys?
Huh. So they'd had challenges?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I referred to, if I didn't see a snowmobiler on our trail, it was a good ski.
Yeah.
A problem for them, problem for me.
Yeah.
So that's still lingering on.
Not now.
Okay.
But then, remember, that's 11 years ago. Now, it was a bit of a push in the beginning, but they still gave us the okay mm-hmm. to use the trail. And it's taken 11 years. I mean, I got on the board, I think, 3 years ago. I can't even remember anymore because it's all blurry. But the relationship now is really good. I think it's unanimous. Most bikers don't want to be on the snowmobile trail.
Right.
Most snowmobilers don't want them on the trail, but they're also willing to make some exceptions if we wanted to run an event on it. And I think just by sitting down at the table together and, being able to take a little crap from them. Yeah, I'm the only biker in the group. So it's not uncommon that there's a lot of biker jokes in the meetings, right?
Right.
And I just roll with it.
That's part of it.
Because you start to see each other as people.
Right.
Those guys in this group, it's primarily guys on that group that have been doing it a long time. They want the same things we want.
Right. And even though it's critical, there's some element of respect, right? They're acknowledging you. They see you.
Yes.
Right.
And who, when you look at, let's just say the state of Michigan, when you look at trail development and success of a trail program and a trail network, what and who is more successful than the snowmobile program in the state of Michigan?
Right.
I mean, talk about having shit tied together. I mean, I know the state's involved and there's funding, et cetera, that, that's probably a whole conversation with mountain bike groups and that not being available to them. But the infrastructure, there's a lot of infrastructure there. There's a lot to be learned.
Well, I mean, just the money from the state. We could learn.
Yes.
They nailed it.
Yes.
We're envious of that.
Yes. And the ORV program right now, frankly, is crushing it. ORV's big and it is not going away.
Right.
I mean, when you look at Crusher right now, we're out in the same area. This is actually one of the interesting things with events and user groups. Every user group has a bad apple, right?
Right.
Every one of them does. And the worst thing you can do is have a negative interaction with an ORVer, a mountain biker, or a snowmobiler, and then paint the whole group.
Right.
It's not like it's every single one, right? We're out in Crusher territory, out in a lot of Lime property, a lot of public domain. I've been out there, I don't know how many times, how many hundreds of miles I've ridden out in that area. I have never had a negative interaction with a side-by-side. Now, that's not to say that somebody hasn't had a negative interaction.
Right.
But have you had a negative interaction out there with a side-by-side?
Never. No.
All I hear from people who are out there on their bikes is they'll bump into the majority. So let's just say at least 90% of the side-by-siders. And when they see bikers out there, they're like genuinely curious, like, where the hell are you going?
Right.
Right. Because you're in the middle of nowhere.
At the end of the day, though, you're getting the same endorphins. You're smelling, you're out in the outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they probably view themselves as doing an active thing. And
they absolutely do.
Yeah.
They do. I think for us in the silent sport community to thumb our nose at what the motorized community does is it's really not, I mean, it's not necessary. Okay, it's motorized, and I think the thing that to be concerned about is the impact, because I will say without hesitation that a bicycle and a side-by-side, the environmental impact is significantly different.
Correct.
But I think that instead of trying to eliminate a user group or villainize a user group, let's just do a better job as a community to get together again and talk and come up with maintenance plans, for maintaining that property. A lot of that stuff actually, because, this is actually where the lumber companies come in. So Lime owns a ton of property up here. It's oftentimes for side-by-sides, ORVs, et cetera, it's their property that's getting impacted.
Right.
We see it all the time out there. You've seen it out there. I mean, we actually are using some of the stuff that ORVers are driving for Crusher. But just I think it's easier to manage it. It doesn't have to always be somebody to blame. It could be more focused on solutions and, hey, how do we fix this?
Right.
Have you done Crusher?
Have not.
No? We should get him in Crusher sometime.
Agreed.
Are you still riding?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, not as much as I should be. Yeah.
What's your primary, how are you staying fit and active and healthy?
Just with time pressure in my schedule,
Yeah.
I'm most efficient, I hate to say it, but on a spinner inside.
Okay.
I do that daily.
Yeah. So you're on a trainer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
any gym?
No, I'm not a gym guy.
No.
I like the environment. I like the constructive energy.
Yeah.
I don't like the inefficiencies of getting in a car, driving somewhere, or even biking to a gym. It's time inefficient.
Yeah.
And you would think a retired guy has all the time in the world, but that's not how, at least the time I have, how I want to spend it. I do some, as one ages, you have to work on core strength. I do some of that independently at home. I've
talked to Paul about retired guys, and he said he's never been busier than when he's retired.
100%. Yeah. The difference is, I would have a schedule in my professional life and get a lot of stuff done, and it was finite. That was the work at hand.
Yeah.
Retired, you have the leeway of taking tangents and being less efficient with that tangential activity. So it's all good. And it's fun to have that fluidness in your day, but the days evaporate for sure. And I'm somewhat self-serving. I carve out time for myself, but just enough time to to spin or do some core.
Skiing seasonally?
Yeah, still skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still doing the Nocamanon?
Yeah, I have. I did all of them through the first 19 or 20 of them.
Yep.
And part of my early retirement was an injury I had in a bicycle accident. So broken rib and back, or pelvis and back, and some nerve damage. So missed a couple of no-Ks. I have not done one since my bike injury.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What about Berkey? Have you done the Berkey?
19 Berkeys.
Yeah, same thing then.
Yeah, stopped at the same time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How are the two? How are they different, or are they? How similar are they?
The Berkey is they're similar in that they're point to point.
Yeah.
They're similar that they're very popular.
Yep.
They're similar in that they're challenging. The first half of the no-K is quite hilly.
Yeah.
The Berkey is a remarkable entity. Oh, you know more. Your son's named after the finish line.
Yeah. Right.
It's a remarkable entity in that they own the whole course. They can groom it stem to stern, pull a groomer out of the start and go to the finish. You know, we have ponds, we have road crossings, we have challenges in both in terms of land access as well as maintenance and grooming. And we don't own the land.
Right.
They now, this is also on our list of dreams, is that they now have snowmaking ability on some of their trail.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, a significant portion. And the groundswell of financial support to place that was pretty significant. They have a huge foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody worries about money. I think they have less worries about money than most.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's worth that Berkey is a really challenging course. You cannot, having done 19 of them, you can't imagine that there are that many hills in central Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it just keeps coming at you.
Yeah.
It's unforgiving. So I tell new people in the Berkey, don't get buried, don't redline, because you'll never recover.
Right.
It'll be a long day at the office.
Yeah, I've ridden the Czech 40, which is the Berkey.
Yeah.
You know, in September, and it's like a roller coaster.
Is that the what was the previous name for that? Is that the what is the other one that's on the Berkey course that I've done 5 times?
Well, the Schwamagon 40.
Yeah, Schwamagon.
Yeah, that's the one.
Fat Tire 40.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a cool race. It's like a roller coaster. It's just up or down.
Right.
For 40 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the Berkey on snow.
Yeah. Yeah. Same foundation too, right? Or the same group that runs it, or are they different groups?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Because there's a fair portion of the Fat Tire 40 that's not on the Berkey Trail.
Have you done the Berkey on a bike?
I've done the Fat Tire 40.
Sorry, the Fat Tire 40.
Yeah. Probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Have you done that?
Yeah.
You've been. When's the last time you did it?
Maybe 18 or 19, maybe.
Big mass start.
Yeah.
Huge rollout from downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. That rollout is wild.
Yeah, I love the sound of those the knobby tires on the cement.
Yeah,
it sounds like killer bees.
Yeah,
from Brazil.
Yeah,
I did it one year with blanking the Tour de France rider from Minnesota that won the Tour. Oh boy. So now he did it one year after he had been
Tour de France from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Do you know who we're talking
rider?
about?
The gun guy that
got shot.
The gun axe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the hunting accident, I should say.
Oh man, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Anyhow, he did it that year, but it was shortly after his gun injury and his mitochondria were affected, and a couple of us were around him in the race. Not that we're Tour de France caliber; it just shows how far.
Greg LeMond.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
Yep.
Thank you.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool race.
Yeah,
it
is
fun vibe.
It is. Is it as big as it was? Like, how many thousands of people do that? I'm trying to remember.
When I hear about big mass starts events, Iceman is in that same conversation.
Yes.
Iceman's probably the biggest of the 3.
Yes. I think the Czech is the oldest.
Yeah, that's 1987, I believe.
Yeah, because
83.
The Triple Crown.
Yeah.
One of them is the biggest, which I think is Iceman. One of them is the oldest, which I think is the Czech 40. And then you got
Ordershore's in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Iceman has become bigger than Fat Tire 40.
Yeah.
I think the year I stopped doing both of them is when it went to lottery to get entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the last year I did, I think there were 2,500 people on the Fat Tire 40, and then they had to get their arms around registration.
And Lifetime took it over.
Yes. Yeah, Lifetime took over the Czech 40.
And then the lottery went away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was actually wild because both the Czech and Iceman at about the same time went from instant sellouts or lottery to not. All in that same kind of timeline. Did Iceman become the biggest? Am I remember this correctly? That there was a snafu with registration. Do you remember what I'm talking about? A bunch of people got in. I got to look back. You know who will know? Chad will know.
Sure. I'm
going to ask Chad on that because I think that there's an interesting story to how it became the biggest. I don't think that was necessarily always the case.
Yeah, I remember doing it 20 years ago, and it wasn't. I mean, there were a lot of people, but not even Fat Tart 40 numbers.
Yeah.
And it's a great course. It's a good course. It's not a great course. At least when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. There's only a little bit of single track than when I did it. Never did it in deep snow. I did it in tank tops and sleeveless shirts a couple of times.
The Iceman?
Yeah.
I only did it in snow once, but it melted off, and it was basically just a mud fest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was.
I think each of those races has a story.
Yeah. I mean, didn't the Iceman essentially start as like a group ride initially? A bunch of guys went out and just crushed a 30-mile course, and then more guys or more people showed up the next year, then pretty soon it turns into an event.
That's kind of the Berkey story.
Is it?
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. How did so you said the Berkey owns the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Is it essentially that they got easements? They own the easements on the trail? Or I think that's a lot of land.
Yeah, I believe it started with easements, and I believe they do own the land.
Wow.
Which you're right is different than easements because it's not used for anything but that.
Wow.
So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a remarkable machine.
That whole area down there, between Berkey and then even Camba with the trail system that they've developed. I mean, I remember before our mountain bike scene really had hit more national attention going down there and just be blown away by the clusters that they have and the interconnectivity of the system. And it was really cool. Camba's done a nice job down there.
Yeah, summer and winter.
Yeah. Absolutely, year round. It's pretty damn awesome.
They have a couple of ski races and a lot of bike races.
I mean, I think you can almost essentially go from what's the northernmost? Is it Drummond or I don't. It's just below. You go over from Ashland and then you start heading down toward Cable and Hayward, and there's just clusters all the way down.
Right.
Have you done the Schwammergau 100?
No.
That's a cool event. Did you do that?
Is that the road ride?
No. That's so I don't even know if it's still running anymore. I think it might not be running. It was a 100-mile mountain bike race.
Pretty pressure.
It went, it went from, we started out in Cable. The years I did it, we started in Cable at a resort. We went down to the fish hatchery, just outside of Hayward.
Right.
And then back up. So it was an oval back to, you ended up back in Cable, but really cool event.
That's a big loop.
It was. I mean, they hit as much of the single track as they could. There were some fire roads that connected, between trail segments. It had a real cool vibe. But Tim and his wife ran that event, and they turned it over to Camba, and now I'm not sure if it's running anymore.
Tim Swift?
Tim Kruger. Okay. Used to work for Salsa, and then he went off on his own, and he has a couple companies, Terrene and Esker. Yeah. Bike tire company and then a bike brand.
Wonder how much of industry knowledge came out of that place because they were early on. They were the OG recreation community in the Midwest, I believe.
Camba, you're talking? Yeah. Like Cable Hayward?
Right.
Yeah, I've always been impressed by what they've got going on down there. It's a really cool thing. And so many miles of, it's cool because you got the trail system and then you have the Schwammergau, the national forest there.
National forest, right?
Oh man, what a combination.
I wonder how, so it's all about land access. I wonder what land pressures they feel. I know others who have come to our board actually from outside of the state who deal with national forest areas. We're envious of that, that they have control of their land. But they said, this person said it's dependent upon the administration in the office and whether they're, even if they're all the way down to if they're hikers or bikers, they can swing the pendulum one direction or the other.
Yeah.
So even with what appears to be stable land access, there are always land access issues.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That really does.
Yeah.
Bringing it back home, what do you think we can do, NTN and 906, to keep making things better?
And it starts with communication. Yeah. And then sitting at the table and listening to the issues, seeing where we agree, seeing where we disagree, working on both, make them both better. And to be granular, this year with the whole insurance issue with Margie and how we got hit by ours and you got hit and it changed everything. That should not have been we should have been able to discuss that well beforehand and work on granular issues. And all that gets resolved with constant regular communication.
Yeah. Well, I've told you this privately with just the two of us, and I'll say it here publicly. When you took over as president, to me, us connecting and starting to talk through this stuff together, it's the most hope I've had in 11 years that we can find a path forward together. And 100%, this is no disrespect to anybody. It's 100% based on what I know of you and who you are.
Well, I've got history with your family, and mutual respect, and that's where relationships start.
Yeah,
and communication.
And I know that at the end of the day, there's no failure's not an option.
Right.
It just isn't an option
for so many reasons.
Yeah, it's a lot for our community rides on us all working together, 906, NTN, other user groups, and being willing to, if there is something that happened in the past or something hasn't happened about something, you got to be able to leave that there. And you have to have eyes forward, eyes of the future. Here's a question I have for you, because we identified, I think, and I think that everybody would agree on this, detractors are a minority, but they're vocal. How do you deal with them? And this isn't just for us. I'm saying this for other communities too, because I've talked to other trail groups and orgs, and they have the same stuff in their communities. The troublemakers are always the ones that are not, they won't hesitate to go cause trouble.
Right.
To talk out of school in a pub, to go dip into the comments in Facebook. So I'm curious, in your opinion, how do we address that?
Well, I think first of all, leading by example and shower the environment with positivity. Also, by simply us communicating, we'll suck the oxygen out of the room, right? So up for the naysayers, it will have less traction. And, combat disinformation with information, say how it is.
Right.
And if we can agree on those numbers and show that we agree on those numbers, it distracts or detracts from the ability to say otherwise.
Yeah. You said something that I think is important there, and that is you take the oxygen out of the room. And the way I look at that is, if somebody dips into either an NTN page or one of our groups, and they decide to go, off the rails a little bit and start making allegations that are not accurate whatsoever. The people who aren't afraid to go out and cause problems can be offset by just being held accountable. Mm-hmm. And that's where the oxygen gets pulled out. Because it's like, okay, if you made this statement, substantiate it. Show me. Or if it's something that they're saying we did or something I said, okay, tell me more about that. You start asking questions, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not to say that you're trying to, for a long time, I think, the more that you leave a person untended, unchecked, they become more problematic.
Right. There's a couple of things about that. First of all, educate, but most importantly, everybody wants to be heard. So this person that is off the rails they must have an issue, right? And if you acknowledge and hear that person, and then hopefully pull them back on the rails through education. But first of all, listening, and being open-minded to maybe hear the message that's embedded within profanity or however it's faced, to hear that issue, hear that person, and then educate them and let them know, acknowledge them.
Yeah. One
that'll suck the oxygen out of the room.
It will. Here's one other little tip. I've used this my entire professional career in everything I've done. And it's just a simple phrase that I've tried to teach. If I had a sales team, try to teach that to them. If I've been running a restaurant, try to teach this to them. And even now within our group, the phrase is verify everything. So when you're given information, the first thing that you should do is you should consider, what is this person's motivation? Why are they sharing this information with me? Right? Very few things are done on accident.
Right.
There's intent.
It's not random.
Nope. So you should always think, why am I being given this information? Right? You're going to have to hypothesize. You're going to have to make some assumptions, but you should think it through. What are the options here? But then also verify the information. Get to the root before you start acting, before you're repeating, before you start proliferating bad information. Verify what you've been told.
Right.
I'll go to the one example we have. So there's been this long-standing disagreement among some about how much money 906 has given in charitable contributions to trail organizations. Anytime I have ever spoken the number, I have spoken the number factually from data, right? I don't wing around wild approximations that are hundreds of $1,000s off. We ended up in a situation where we had somebody from the NTN side saying one thing that was hundreds of thousands of dollars off, and we had somebody on the 906 side also saying something hundreds of thousands dollars off. Same topic, two different sides. We had a person in the middle who mutually knew the two people.
Right.
And that person did the right thing, and I think that this person should still be awarded Volunteer of the Year because this person did what I said you should always do, verify everything.
Right.
So this person went to our 990s and started comparing our 990s to what the person from the NTN side said, and those did not match.
Right.
We were showing on our 990s would give him much more money. You and I talked. And I think that that's where we finally said, okay, we've been talking about money for 10 years.
Right.
The buck is going to stop here.
Right.
And we pulled the all parties together to the table. We put the data down. We actually gave everybody a chance to look at the data ahead of time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when we came together, the data matched.
Right.
There was that one donation for the township with the tunnel.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That we recorded it differently on our books than you guys did, but the money still was given. That wasn't the question. The numbers matched.
There again, you listen to the problem. Someone's got some energy in it, and it's finances. Of course, they're numbers. You got to be able to reconcile them. Right. And we did that, but it happened because we had a desire to do so. We had the courage to jump into the numbers and realize someone might not feel good about this.
Yes.
And then resolved it.
Yes. Yeah. No. That gave me a lot of hope because we did come together. We vetted it out. And for anybody running a nonprofit, if you start hearing that somebody's going into your 990s now, starting to doubt what you're reporting, that is a reputational hit, right?
In a community this size, that won't work.
It does not work. It does not work anywhere, and it's not even forgivable that it would come up and be wrong. But we got through that together, and now we're on the same page with it.
Started with, you answered my call or I answered yours. I can't remember which it was.
It was both.
The respect demonstrated, and I feel good about where we ended.
Yeah. Verify everything.
Trust and verify.
Trust, but verify. Trust and verify.
Yeah. It's like raising kids.
Yeah.
Trust but verify.
Yeah. Tara was big on the and versus but, using the words in a conversation. She preferred the word and.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But is obstructive.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a lesson from Tara.
Huh. Yeah, we miss her in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we do. What time do we have here? 11:35.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
You got stuff to do?
Nothing more important.
We have another podcast coming in 25 minutes. We're on a double header today.
Oh, nice. Oh, the microphone's warm. Who gets my hot seat?
Ed Rogers. He's a guy from Traverse City. He did the Crusher. God, what is up with my phone? I actually don't even know Ed that well. I met him at the Crusher when he did the point-to-point 500-mile ride.
That's where I heard the name. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to sitting down with him and learning more about him.
Well, I guarantee you're going to know him better after this.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Wally, I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, my pleasure.
This was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was.
It was good.
Better here forward.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Over and out.